We're rolling.
Welcome back, everyone. Episode 90 of the Jiu Jitsu Dummies Podcast.
No way. 90?
90. Most podcasts don't go past 12.
We're
3
better,
years in, we're good?
better than most.
Brought to you by Black Belt Digital Marketing. Anything you need to build your business, web design, Google Ads, graphic design, they can help. Check them out at Black Belt Digital Marketing on Instagram or their website, bbdigitalmarketing.com. Request a free online review of your entire online presence. Okay? I'm Milton Campus. I'm a brown belt training out of South Florida. Bo behind the camera.
Hola.
Hello, Bo.
Miguel riding shotgun. Shout out to our booking manager, Britt.
Yo, Britt.
All right.
Hey,
Don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe. We'd really appreciate all the support. Joining us today, George Piro.
Mm-hmm.
Welcome.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for being here.
Any stripes on the purple belt?
Yep.
Actually, I have 4.
Whoa,
Yo,
almost
4.
a brown belt. Dirty brown. Keep my wrist away from you.
I think all the pictures I saw, there was one. Is that the stripes new, or that you've had them for a little bit?
No, I've had him for a while.
Okay.
Yeah.
You got to post more.
I
think in the last picture I saw, it's like it was one
under
stripe.
promise, over deliver.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? Oh, he's just a one stripe purple belt.
Let me do some quick shout outs, right? And then we're going to
Absolutely.
circle back. So appreciate it. Thank you to our friends over at Flow and Roll. Hands down the best custom gi and no gi gear in the business. I got my shirt on today.
What up, Sean?
Check their Instagram out at flow_n_roll. Tons of custom designs. They work with academies across the country. We've talked about their pre-order program. If you're a small gym, a new gym, an old gym, you need to buy gis. You don't want to lay out, $10,000, $15,000.
Yeah.
They have a pre-order program. You put down a few $100s. He'll get your stuff on his website. Your students can order. You'll actually make the same as if you were selling them in your academy, and then you'll get, you can use the profits to buy the stock. And you've laid out a few $100 and you get everything you need.
Even if your name is Jim, you can still buy it.
He's also doing something really cool where it's like 25, 50, 75, 100 gis. He's also going to give you the patches.
Right.
So he's running a special right now. So reach out to Sean at Flow and Roll. You can go to the Instagram or check out their website, flowandroll.com. They are still carrying our podcast tee. That one right there that Miguel's got on.
Bam, bam, bam.
Want to give him a shot of that,
It's
Bo?
the cleanest one I got.
Right. So you also get 20% off with code JJD at flowandroll.com.
Go buy a
All
shirt.
right? Thank you to the BJJ box for all their support as well. They're our Jiu-Jitsu's favorite monthly subscription box. It's delivered to your door filled with premium Jiu-Jitsu and grappling apparel, equipment, supplements, supplies, snacks, tons more. They find the best products in the world of Jiu-Jitsu and guarantee that every box will be worth more than the cost. So
sure
each box
is.
has, about 4 to 7 items?
And there's tiers, right?
Yeah, he's got a VIP box, and then he's got
Where you get like rashies and stuff like that. And then
yeah,
you got
the VIP
quarterly
box is the one that we give away on Instagram.
Yeah.
And then he's got like a one above that's quarterly, and you get the rash guard.
Right.
I think is it a rash guard in it too, or just the rash guard?
If you love jiu-jitsu and you have disposable income,
Yeah.
do it.
Yeah. Use code JJD10 for $10 off your very first box. And we've got actually a box coming. I didn't check the mail today, so we might have had one there.
You're the
waiting for
worst.
us.
Hey, can I tell you something real quick?
What am I the
like,
worst at?
No. So like my wife was on vacation for 3 weeks. This happens every summer, and then I join up at the end of it. And then I fly up, and then we all fly back together. I checked the mail 0 times in a month because I never do it. She told me today, she was like, dude, that thing was packed.
If I don't check it, nobody checks it. Because in the like you have to go to the mailbox.
I'm the rest.
No house has a mailbox in front of it.
I'm the rest of your family.
Yeah, no.
I got 2 mailboxes. I got 2 mailboxes, one for this apartment, one for the other apartment. So
Nobody likes to show off.
nothing ever shows up. Nothing ever shows up here.
So
no one
now
cares.
we have Bo, going to ask you to do the same thing we did last episode. We're going to drop in the commercial after I do the shout out for Neutral Zone Clean, right? We're
Gotcha.
just launching their website.
Limpio.
It was a couple of days late. Sorry, guys. But we're launching
That was my
their
fault.
it's Neutral Zone. No. The website itself. That's not your fault.
Blame me. Oh,
That's Black Belt Digital Marketing.
blame me anyway.
You're just
Blame
going
me
to take the
anyway.
L. for everyone.
NeutralZoneClean.com is going to be launched by the time this airs.
All right.
You can use coupon JJD for 15% off, right? And Instagram is Neutral Zone Clean. This one is right because their CBD is My Neutral Zone. So let's not get confused. It's Neutral Zone Clean.
No CBD.
On this one. No CBD in their cleaning products.
Just clean.
Pull some of those
Right.
closer because you can't really
Over
see
here?
them on the camera. Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
So
I
we're
put
going
them-
to show
I
you
put
the
them on my
commercial
gym.
right here. Bo's going to drop it in for you guys. Check it out.
Neutral Zone is combat family owned, so they know you need to keep yourself and your equipment clean. They created Neutral Zone Clean wipes and sprays for just that purpose. Neutral Zone products are formulated to reduce the risk of bacterial and fungal infections. Whatever's making you sweat, weight training, rolling on the mats, yard work, or just working around the house, Neutral Zone Clean wipes and sprays can make you feel and smell refreshed. Use code JJD to get 15% off your online order at neutralzoneclean.com. While you're there, sign up for their newsletter to receive the latest info and updates on product launches like their new shower gel and soap bar coming soon. Are you Neutral Zone Clean?
All right. Very cool. Thank you, guys. That's it. We're done, George.
We're doing it. We're
that's
live
the end
now.
of the episode. Thank you for coming.
That was great.
Get out.
Listen, thank you again for being here. I should give you like the proper intro that you are an American top team, 4-stripe, purple belt.
Yes.
Again, you got to post more. I was gonna. I had 1 stripe written here. This
He's
is bad.
busy. He's busy getting stripes,
Yeah.
bro. He can't got no time to take pictures. Dan Lambert doesn't allow phones in there.
Does it sound? Is it weird to hear that former special agent?
It still is a little weird.
Yeah.
Is it like the Marines?
Wait, special
Like
agent.
you're never really out. You know what
You're
I mean?
never really out.
Yeah.
You know, the FBI is a family, so
Yeah.
I'm always going to be associated with the FBI, and
Yeah.
very proud of that
That's cool.
affiliation. So you're a former now. You never give up.
Yeah.
You know that.
FFBI.
Yeah. So again, former special agent in charge of the FBI's Miami field office, right?
That's correct.
That's exact. That's that nice long title. Did that fit really well on a business card, right? Yeah. So, listen, thank you for doing this. Thank you to Roberto Santiago who kind of put this together for us. You said you knew him from way back, right? He did some. What was it that he did?
He actually attended the FBI Citizens Academy that we host twice a year.
All right, and you have remained in contact with him since then.
Yes.
He helped set up the WSVN interview.
He did.
Right?
Yes.
Which we saw this weekend, which
That's
was awesome.
Channel 7,
they
right?
mentioned Jiu Jitsu Dummies at the end. I stayed up. I was like this with my camera, waiting, my phone, and just waiting for it to come on.
I will say he sent me the video of him recording a television, and he didn't budge.
Very
It was
steady
like
hand.
the most still video I've ever seen.
Listen, I was excited. Hey, listen, we're getting
You were so excited.
We're getting mentioned in a
you were
George Piro
shocked.
segment. I mean,
You did better than I did. I didn't even record my own segment.
I did post.
We'll send it to you.
Have you seen that now it's posted as
Yes.
the segment, right? You've
Yeah,
seen
they
it.
actually
So,
they sent it to me.
I think Roberto. I watched it that night. Was it Sunday night? And then I think they played it again Monday. Monday, Tuesday?
several times on Monday.
Okay.
So I
there
think
you
it was 11, 12,
Yeah.
and 4 o'clock.
How does it feel? How different is that than what you used to be on the news for?
It's very different.
Yeah.
Of course, previously I'd have to, make sure that I was representing the Bureau in the highest standards and meeting, the FBI's expectations. With this, it was more about, really enjoying the opportunity and the experience.
Yeah.
That's great.
Well put.
That's exactly it. Yeah.
Yeah, man. It's great. I always like to. My father's going to watch this episode, right?
Okay.
My father was in law enforcement. He was a New York City transit police officer before the departments merged.
Yeah.
He retired right before the merger, so he was never NYTPD, right? Mm-hmm. So always proud. My entire life, I mean, I never missed a chance to brag that my dad was a cop. My dad's
But wasn't your dad also one of those cops who was undercover at the train station to kind of look out for stuff
yeah,
too?
so
those are the guys I was
he
afraid
did
of.
something called anti-crime.
Yeah.
When back in the day, you were in law enforcement before you were an FBI agent. Did anti-crime in New York City, and then he did. It was called the Brooklyn Queens Task Force. It was called the Decoy Squad. So he became a sergeant, and he used to call them kids because they were kids, and they would be in a van and go from station to station, and set up somebody, make them off cop, drunk, passed out on the train or on a bench, and somebody would rob them and they'd arrest them. I always tell everybody, does everybody remember Money Train? Remember Money Train?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Money Train with J-Lo
that,
and who else?
Woody Harrelson
and
Wesley Snipes.
Wesley Snipes, yes. That's how I would explain it to me. Like, wait, what does your dad do? Oh, he's a cop. Yeah. You ever see Money Train? That's how I explained it to
Money
everybody.
Train's been a long
They actually did.
time.
I remember they did a 60 Minutes segment on them. He had just joined, but 60 Minutes was already doing a segment on them when they were kind of getting into some trouble and everybody was screaming, entrapment. And that's when they changed the name from Decoy Squad to Brooklyn Queens Task Force, but they never stopped. They just always did it. So
entrapment. What, we're not supposed to rob passed out drunk people?
So again, I never miss a chance to brag on my dad, and he's going to see this one. So
that's New York mentality.
Yeah.
Right there. 80s at least.
So let's go back. So let's talk about, we mentioned American Top Team. So you're training, obviously, like, people know like the affiliations. Where's your home gym? ATT?
So my home gym is American Top Team West Pines under Professor Wilson Govea.
Okay.
Nice.
And I did see you. Did you do the interview from the American Top Team in Coconut Creek?
I did.
Okay.
But they interviewed my Professor Wilson Govea, and he was on the on that.
That's a
show.
room full of sharks over there. Is it a little even different training from just your home gym, or?
Yeah, so I'm fortunate that I'm actually able to train in the mornings at Coconut Creek, which is headquarters. Of course, after COVID, Coconut Creek is closed to the public.
Yes.
It's limited to professional fighters, but I am fortunate enough that I do have the opportunity.
Professional fighter now.
I am. Yeah, so in the mornings, I'll do my training there, and in the evenings, of course, under the tutelage of Wilson Govea and the West Pines team.
Yeah, do you, in the past, do you throw on the gloves as well? Do you do some MMA, or do you stick into just jiu-jitsu?
No, I've done both.
Okay.
But right now, I'm really focused on just jiu-jitsu, especially as I'm training and preparing for the Worlds in September.
Very interesting.
That's going to be, there's an argument, right? Like there's adults and then there's masters. You're doing the masters division, right?
Yes.
Right. So, but like the argument was like, I'm masters too, I believe. And when I was training with Milton, I spoke to Professor Sophia and Professor Felipe, and I was like, hey, man, I want to do adults. And he's like, they were both just like, you should just do your age. And don't think that just because you're doing adults, that it's going to be tougher. It's actually like a blue belt masters 2 is probably just as tough. I don't want to say tougher, but like just as tough, because like, what are you dealing with? You're dealing with a 35 to 40-year-old man who's got his shit together, has time to train, and is hyper-focused on the same task you are. So, like, just think about yourself, you know what? Every time I've done an IBJJF at my weight and at my age, it's been, like, a similar person. Yeah. Like, a person that's just like, I came here to win. Yeah. This is what I train for. I sacrifice my family time for this. It's never like a gym bro that's 35. Yeah. It's always like a guy who's like an accountant or, because you talk to them afterwards. I mean, you know how IBJJF is. You weigh in, they stick you in the pen, and then you're just in there until your bracket's over. So like naturally you just like, you're like, hey, what's up? Like, because you're also an adult. That's the difference too. It's like you're not in there with a bunch of kids. It's like a different, like the mental games, I believe, with the older people. Yeah. Is there as well.
Are you competing as much? Are you competing more now that you've retired, or were you competing just? No, as much I was
competing quite a bit before I retired.
Regularly,
yes.
Yeah.
So I really focused on IBJJF tournaments, and of course, really focused on not only my ranking but the top tournaments.
And where are you ranked?
So the highest I've reached was 7 for my age group. Unfortunately, I sustained a pretty serious injury at the beginning of the year. I tore my pectoral major, had to have surgery, so I was out of competing for a while. Wow. So my ranking dropped. I believe I'm number 30 now for my age group.
All right. Well, now going back to Wilson, his son trains with you as well. I know his son, but how old is his son?
His son is 13 and
13.
is a killer.
I was going to say.
So shout out to Willie. He's incredible.
I know he reposted something, but I didn't see how old he was, and I was like, I'm curious. Like, is he a killer like his dad? I mean,
he's a killer like his dad. So it's funny. He's about 185, 190. 13. He's just like his dad, and he is as tough and as aggressive as his dad. He's probably 5'8", 5'9"
and
already.
180.
Yeah, at least 180.
13.
Man. They don't build them like they used to. We got a couple of them young kids too.
I told you guys I used to be 175 at 12 years old, 175 and 5'8" or 5'9". Yeah.
Wow.
But look, I didn't get any bigger.
You peaked too soon, bro.
I didn't get, at 13, I was...
That was it.
13, I was definitely under 100 pounds. I remember when I was seventh, eighth grade, I was wrestling at 118.
At 13?
No. So sixth, seventh grade. What is that? 12, 13. The seventh grade, I started wrestling. So that would have been, what is that? That's 13.
Yeah, that's
13,
that
14,
age, yeah.
Yeah.
That's cute.
180.
Wow.
Have been like
Yeah,
wider sideways.
my
for me.
mom-
So I'm
my mom
embarrassed
was
to
still
tell you,
dressing
as a freshman, I wrestled. I was 4'9", 86 pounds, and I wrestled 92-pound division,
Yeah.
which is the lowest weight class
Oh, wow.
available.
That sucks.
You know
At
what,
least you
though?
got to
You guys were fucking tough, man. Those little guys were
Yes.
Then
monsters on the
Scrappy.
mats, man.
Hard.
It's like
always hard to drive a half on the lightweights because they would always.
I mean, you could just move so quickly.
So
You know.
fortunately, between junior and senior year, I had a growth spurt and
Yeah.
grew
I
to
was a
5'11".
late bloomer. I grew like 2 inches when I went away to first year when I went away to college. I came back like I was much to like I finally sprouted. But yeah, I mean, I wrestled for a couple of years. Do you still like your recall of your wrestling? How long did you wrestle?
So I wrestled a couple of years,
Okay.
freshman and sophomore year.
Even like I go back to like I do things that like I'll put somebody in a cradle and kind of like sweep them, take down defense. Like for me, it just comes so natural. Even I'm 49, it comes natural to me to just like it's just there. But he wrestled as well, right?
Yeah.
I know the first time we ever rolled together, he started moving and I was like, "Did you used to wrestle?" He's like, "Yeah." I was like, you immediately tell like a
You can
wrestler.
pick
it's
it
the
out
way,
for
yeah,
sure.
Yeah.
But
So
now,
who won?
he always wins.
Brown blue. He's
Yeah.
I'm just a few years
okay.
ahead of
I'm
him.
probably the worst guy
and
on the
you
planet.
have old man experience to go with it
Yeah,
too.
a little old man strength too. I think is it like, why how's this guy so strong? So I'm eating burgers and fries yesterday.
Yep.
So, so was going pro always the plan? Was this how long was this plan in place? Was this like you've always dreamed about this, or was this just like I'm retiring, maybe I should go pro? I'm saying going pro,
yeah.
but is that the right term? Are we using the right term, or is it like,
Yes.
I want to compete? Okay, go
Absolutely.
pro. Okay.
So somewhere kind of in the middle. Of course, like everyone else, I grew up watching the UFC and really fell in love with jiu-jitsu. From a law enforcement perspective, of course, in the mid-'90s, the Gracies, in collaboration with LAPD, did a study and found that the majority of law enforcement confrontations ended up on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
And having a jiu-jitsu-based law enforcement training or tactics really can help protect law enforcement officers and reduce injuries to the public. So I began to kind of focus on developing my ground fighting skills, and I really didn't get serious until I met my professor, Wilson Govea.
Mm-hmm.
He invited me to his gym, and as I started to train under him, he kind of urged me to look at competing and really as another approach to really taking my jiu-jitsu to another level. There's nothing.
And when was that? How many years ago?
So
When did you start?
started
When was the
training.
first time you stepped on that jiu-jitsu mat?
So I started training with him in 2015.
Mm-hmm.
I had been doing jiu-jitsu prior to on and off.
That's what I was going to ask. Yeah, like did you practice jiu-jitsu or a form of jiu-jitsu that was being taught to you when you were in LEO in California?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, and then in Phoenix, where I was assigned as an FBI agent, and then, of course, in Virginia. But what would unfortunately happen is I would start training and get back into it, and then I'd end up getting deployed overseas or, some type of major investigation that required all of my time and commitment. So then jiu-jitsu would be put on the back burner.
Yep.
And then 6 months or 9 months would pass, and then I'd go back, and then I'd do a couple of months, and then I'm deploying to, this country or this location, and then
I don't know what you guys call it, but in the Army, we call that the green weenie. Always come and get you, man.
Yeah.
Yep.
You said 2014. I actually posted, like memories come up on Facebook.
Yeah.
So I saw a video. I guess I had reposted like a throwback, but I think it was my first competition as a white belt 6 months in was 2015, January 2015. So I started in June
You guys started at the same time.
2014. So yeah, so we started right around the same time. It's right before my 41st
Slacker.
birthday.
Slacker.
I started.
You should-
Slacker.
He's a brown
Wait.
belt.
Yeah. I've been putting in some time, man.
Yeah.
But so I actually never like to start with like, hey, when did you start jiu-jitsu? Like, I hate starting from the beginning. I like to jump around a little bit. But so we're talking about that start in jiu-jitsu. Let's go back to that plan. Once you started, was this like something like, oh yeah, when I Like, did you immediately fall in love like a lot of us? Like, oh shit, this is something that I know that I'm going to do for the rest of my life. Because I felt like that before I stepped on the mat because I was a huge UFC fan. Mm-hmm. I always just like hit the bag. I thought I was a little badass, and then I started training jiu-jitsu. I was like, oh, this is where this is what I absolutely knew from the very beginning. I'm like, I will be a black belt one day. Was it the same feeling for you?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. As soon as I started to train, especially under Professor Govea, I fell in love with it. It's, as you know, jiu-jitsu is very addictive. So I knew I was going to be doing it for the rest of my life, and of course pursue that jiu-jitsu lifestyle and path. As I started to compete and started to look at it more as a profession, my perspective changed. And of course, with a little bit of success, some sponsorships, that's when that light bulb went off and said, hey, this could be initially for me, it was a second career because I of course had my first career or primary career. But as I got closer to retiring, then I thought, hey, how awesome would it be to become a professional athlete at, in your 50s and pursue your dream? And, for me, getting to train next to, Thiago Pitbull Alves, who I grew up admiring and loving as one of my favorite fighters.
For sure. Yeah, that's awesome.
I train and like this morning I was teasing and, picking on Andre Arlovsky.
Does anybody really pick on Andre though?
Dude, can I tell you a funny story? So at his gym or my old gym, they threw no, it was Alesky. What's his name? Olenek.
He's also a top team. Olenek.
Yeah. Right.
Alexei Olenek.
Alexei Olenek. Yeah. So he did a seminar at Felipe and Sophia.
At my gym, at my home, because he trains at, just tell him, he trains it at Henzo Gracie Weston. Yeah. Because he moved, and I'm up at the old Fight Sports up there.
But it was just like, I mean, that's a real deal guy, right? Yeah. So they threw a seminar, and Felipe and Sophia kind of put me to the side. They're like, hey, man, do you mind coming so you could kind of be the dummy? Because they know, like, but anyways, like, he ends up calling, like, rando people to just, like, do a move. And, like, while he's showing the move, these people are tapping out, like, in pain. He's like, this is not submission. Like, so it's like, I could only imagine what it's like training, like, with these high-level people.
So imagine having that guy next to you while you're doing your strength and conditioning, and, now I see him, and he says hi to me, or the other day I got to roll with Renato Maicano.
I love that guy, dude.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I mean, he's a monster.
He
destroyed me.
Yeah.
He's only got one speed, and it's
Maicano or
Renato Maicano.
Yeah, dude, he's so cool.
He is. Yeah. He really. I mean, those guys are all great. So I'm living my dream now at this point where I get to go to the gym and I see these guys and we're working out together. And the other day I was doing the no-gi grappling class with Mike Brown. One of the foremost coaches in the world. And
let's go.
How could you not?
He had did he have a ECW title?
He knocked out Uriah Faber.
That was towards the end of ECW, right?
It was right before right they before brought everybody over
UFC. That's amazing. That's awesome, right? It is like a little like a kid in a candy store, right?
It is.
I pointed at this before because I don't know that I'll ever compete or try to do what you're doing. I've always been in I own a marketing company. I started this. Luckily, my wife, when I told her the idea, she's like, "Oh yeah, come record it at my office." Like, if she would have been like, "Oh really? Another bit? You're going to really start something else?" I wouldn't have done it. But she was behind it, and so when you were saying, what you were saying before, and I pointed to this. I mean, this is like how I get to do more jiu-jitsu. If I'm not doing it,
I'm talking about it. You tell the stories.
It's still just as fun.
I love. Well, but you know what? You tell the stories. You're doing something that is hard to do when you're on the mats, and that's be an inspiration outside the mats.
I definitely would love to compete again. I think, at least for myself, I just don't like to do something if I can't give it 100%. And it's basically two businesses, family, just bought a house, daughter going away to college.
Had a good time.
It's hard to, but now she's going to be off. My oldest daughter is now working for my company. I'm trying to say, here, you can run it, so maybe I get a little bit more time. But, kind of this blew out my knee the day before we went into quarantine for COVID at my job. Pulled a muscle. I was like, oh, man, I can't get a good I can't get a good probably a few months without something happening. But this has been what's been consistent for me. So if I can't do jiu-jitsu, I'm just back to 2 days a week. I just started going. It's like 1 day a week.
I'm really happy for you, Milton.
Baby, the groin injury. Now, okay, 2 days a week, a little bit better. And now I think I can go back a little bit more full-time, even though there's a little bit of pain. But again, this is the way that I'm giving back. But man, you're living the dream that I like. Oh man, I wish I could do this. This is.
But you got to also remember, I spent, not including my military time, 34 years in law enforcement. So yeah, I've experienced what you're talking about, balancing, my FBI career with my fighting career or jiu-jitsu career. Now I've gotten myself to the point where I can really devote most of my time to jiu-jitsu and just see how far I can take it and how good I can get and enjoy every moment of it.
Do you find yourself more chill now on the mats because it doesn't feel like I only get to train on Tuesdays and Thursdays? Like, do you find yourself now that like you get to explore things like,
different way you train
like, hey,
way?
Today I get like I'm just only gonna focus on this and I don't really care what's going on, like that kind of stuff?
Yes and no. Yes and no in a sense that, of course, I'm a little more relaxed and focused on that. But I was telling some of my teammates at West Pines, in the morning when I rolled with Marlon Moraes and Renato Moicano, they crushed me for about an hour and 15 minutes. Of course, they were, really trying to help develop my game and things like that. And then when I went back that night for another 2-hour training session, right, it's not relaxing, right? When you're in the middle of fight camp.
I don't mean like that. I mean more in terms of mentality. Because like before, he's like, oh, I got to get it in. Where now you're like,
oh, now I can't wait.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's like you don't feel rushed. It's like, oh, like before, I'm sure you had a job to manage and you had a very important job. It's
Absolutely.
It's like you probably went there and you had a couple of emails in your inbox that you really had to answer.
and my phone wouldn't stop ringing and emails
There's always that one guy.
Was there ever a time you had to run out of the gym like, oh shit,
100%, yeah.
I remember
BRB.
Brian, I won't say his last name, but Coral Springs PD.
Yeah.
Brian.
There's so many LEOs.
He would be like, he always had to leave his phone on. He always put his bag in the back, his weapon, and no lockers there, but he'd always leave his phone on. And sometimes he was just like, he'd get up, go grab his clothes, and he'd run out the door.
Same thing with mine.
But now, I won't. This, I think sometimes he used to come on his break. He used to on his break.
Hey, what about you know who I'm talking about? Black belt now. He would always have bread in his trunk.
Who's that?
You remember? Starts with H. Okay, so anyways, like his wife hated him training, so he'd always keep bread in his trunk.
Howard?
Yeah.
Oh, Howard? Oh, you didn't remember Howard. Howard's not listening. Howard's wife isn't listening.
Yeah, so anyways, he would like keep bread or something in his trunk because he'd tell his wife he's going to the grocery store because they didn't have this or that.
So we got a couple of guys like that. Like, I gotta
sweaty, with like a smush bag of bread.
You know who's got a family or who's not supposed to be there? By who runs off the mat like 5 minutes before the hour's up, and they run out. They don't stick around.
That's how addictive jiu-jitsu is, dude.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I get talks like quarterly probably because sometimes like the family life will happen, and then like I get in a good groove, and then like I start getting more obsessed, and then I start going more or like spending extra time like after class.
I had that conversation with my wife the other day because I joke with her that she hates jiu-jitsu. Like if I want to I know you hate jiu-jitsu. Like I'm talking to her about jiu-jitsu and I'm like, I know you hate jiu-jitsu. Like I don't hate jiu-jitsu. I used to hate jiu-jitsu when you went 6 days a week, 2 hours a day, sometimes 3. And on Saturday, you would do an open mat, and I wouldn't see you for 4 or 5 hours.
You mean the dream?
It's like, that's when I didn't like it. Yeah, right, the dream. Right?
The dream?
Oh, you mean my dream? What I want to do for the rest of my life, honey? But in the beginning, that's what it was. I was a white belt. It was a family friend of hers that opened the school, and I was his first student, so it was like me and a black belt. So I got my blue belt in like 6-7 months. But it was just me and the black belt for a big part of that. And, then we started, people started coming in and joining. And so, but it was 2 hours a day, 6 days a week, 2 hours a day, 5 days a week. And then we went to an open mat with another gym that was like, they came to us one Saturday, we went to them. So it was, she was like, all right, a little much. Come on, this is a little bit too much. But, age, work, all those things caught up. But that was before we were married. We was dating and living together. So it was a little bit easier then. And once we got married, it just, it got a little bit older. You calm down a little bit, injuries, I need an extra day to recover, right? How's your recovery? Like, what do you do for recovery?
So, I do a variety of different things from stretching, massage gun.
Yeah. That's my best friend. Morning and night.
Absolutely. And then, of course, proper nutrition, rest, all of those things.
That I don't do. The proper nutrition? Not so much.
No.
Thank you to Feito IT and AV, specializing in commercial and residential automation, security cameras, CCTV, POS, and more. Check them out at feitoitav.com or call 305-428-2515 and let them know the dummy sent you. Neutral Zone is Combat family owned, so they know you need to keep yourself and your equipment clean. They created Neutral Zone Clean wipes and sprays for just that purpose. Neutral Zone products are formulated to reduce the risk of bacterial and fungal infections. Whatever's making you sweat, weight training, rolling on the mats, yard work, or just working around the house, Neutral Zone Clean wipes and sprays can make you feel and smell refreshed. Use code JJD to get 15% off your online order at neutralzoneclean.com. While you're there, sign up for their newsletter to receive the latest info and updates on product launches like their new shower gel and soap bar coming soon. Are you Neutral Zone Clean? Jiu-Jitsu's favorite monthly subscription box has now joined the Jiu Jitsu Dummies Podcast. The BJJ box is delivered to your door filled with premium jiu-jitsu and grappling apparel, equipment, supplements, supplies, snacks, and more. The crew at the BJJ box find the best in the world of jiu-jitsu and guarantee every box to be worth more than the cost. Each box includes 4 to 7 items you're going to love. Visit thebjjbox.com and use code JJD10 to get $10 off your very first box. And give them a follow on Instagram at thebjjbox. Special thank you to the crew over at Flow and Roll for all their support. Flow and Roll is renowned for their incredible no-gi rash guards, shorts, and leggings. Flow and Roll has quickly become the premier custom apparel provider for academies big and small throughout the United States. Reach out today to discuss your custom order and ask about their incredible pre-order program. You can send an email to flowandroll@gmail.com or visit their Instagram at flow_n_roll and shoot them a direct message. And yes, they can create an awesome custom gi for your academy as well. Visit flowandroll.com to check out their awesome designs, and while you're there, pick up a Jiu Jitsu Dummies signature tee exclusively at flowandroll.com. And remember, you'll get 20% off your purchase of t-shirts, rash guards, or gis with code JJD.
Thankfully, I've had, I've been on a proper nutrition plan for years.
Yeah.
Not only for jiu-jitsu, but for my other career.
Yeah.
Right? We have a physical fitness standard that I wanted to maintain. And of course, as the head of the office, I wanted to lead by example. So I was very consistent about not only eating healthy, but training and being the first to take our fit test to just demonstrate the importance of physical fitness for the overall health and well-being, of the employees.
Let's talk about that a little bit, because I've always talked to my dad about this, because again, I remember growing up, maybe asked him a few months ago about this, because I was like, I say this on the show a lot. Is this right? And I said, right, you didn't have any fitness requirements after you got on the job. He said the only requirement we had was they'd have to do like a test, a shooting test, right? Whatever you would call that.
Marksmanship.
Marksmanship. Yeah. Okay. So he would have to do that once a year. I think once a year, maybe once a year. But there was no fitness requirement. I know Rogan, there's a clip of Rogan talking about this recently. He's like, if you're going to be a fat cop, like he's really laying into guys that are like,
I posted that.
Shame on, right. He's like basically saying like, shame on you for not being in a job where you're supposed to be protecting other people, and then you look like that, like you're fat and you're overweight and you're not going to be able to run. And
I have to agree.
And right, did you see that?
Yeah, I did. I say, eat all you want, get super fat, make it real easy for me to jog away when I feel like doing something bad.
So you've always, those have always been FBI fitness requirements.
Yes.
In your job as a law enforcement, can you talk about where you started your law enforcement career?
Yeah, absolutely. So I began my law enforcement career in Northern California. So I was hired as a police officer in a city called Ceres, California, which is right in the Central Valley. At my department, we didn't have a physical fitness standard after you got out of the police academy. But for me, within my first year, I tried out and made the SWAT team. Now, the SWAT team had a physical fitness requirement, and we would take that physical fitness requirement every quarter.
Okay.
So that that included pull-ups, push-ups, sit-ups,
Like a 1 mile run or something
a
like
mile and a
that.
half run, those
Obstacle
kinds of
course.
things. Exactly. So to be on SWAT, you had to be very, very physically fit because it's a very physically demanding and challenging assignment.
And that was right after the LA riots, so I'm sure you
It
guys.
was actually before.
It was right before?
For me, it was before
Okay.
the LA riots. So I always had that as part of my profession or my focus within my career. Now, within the FBI, very, very different. The standards are very, very different. You have to pass the physical fitness test to get to the FBI Academy after you go through the stringent hiring process. Within the academy, you have to pass the test 3 times. And once you become an agent, you have to pass that same test every year throughout your career.
Do you have to do it in a suit?
No, thankfully you don't have to do it in a suit.
They need to change that shit. You got to do it in a suit.
And then, unlike most departments, we actually qualify with our weapon every quarter. We have defensive tactics training every quarter. So we really try to maintain that level of proficiency, both not only with our weapons, but with defensive tactics or combatives, so that our agents are as prepared as they possibly can be to deal with whatever the situation that they're faced with.
Yeah.
Not being funny this time, do you do the training in a suit? Like when you do like the weapons training or like
Well, you're not necessarily.
No, that's a great question. Yes, believe it or not. Well, it doesn't have to be a suit, but you have to wear a jacket.
Yeah.
Because most FBI agents were wearing jackets, so you've got to be able to draw your weapon, fire,
Right,
all of
lift
those things with a jacket on. So our qualifications require you to wear a jacket.
That's awesome.
What do you think
Champagne
about the
glass.
Gracie's push? This, I mean, I know they're not the only ones, but they're probably the most high profile.
That 40-year push?
of pushing, of pushing, jiu-jitsu out to the local law enforcement agencies. What are your thoughts on
I think it's incredible, and I think it's a must. Right. Again, going back to the discussion that we had earlier, most law enforcement confrontations are going to end up on the ground. Right. So, what is the one martial art that allows the person to be able to control and secure somebody with minimal force and the least possibility of injury?
Taekwondo. No,
Yeah. That's how you get them down, bro. All kicks.
I mean,
No,
it's so
jiu-jitsu
weird.
is
It's so
definitely
weird
the
that it
best.
seems so obvious to us, and I mean, I think it's becoming more obvious. It seems so obvious. I don't know why is there. It feels like there's been pushback. We've talked to other guests. It's like, yeah, there's a little bit of a pushback. It's like do we have to pay for the training now? How does the responsibility of the department if you hurt somebody through a jiu-jitsu move or you really do hurt somebody with choke? I mean, I've been training for 8 years. I've
breaking
never
the law.
seen somebody get hurt from a choke or, it's been.
So from the department's perspective, it isn't the potential of injuring a suspect that law enforcement officers are trying to subdue, because you're more likely to injure them if you're not trained.
Yeah.
As we've seen repeatedly. For most cities or departments, the costs are associated with, right? So if it's mandated by the department, so they have to give it to the officers while the officers are on duty. And if an officer gets injured, then they get workers' comp,
Yeah, okay.
and all of those things, and that ends up costing the city money. The officer is going to be out on an injury, and some of the injuries are not ones that are very visible, right? It's not like you tear your ACL or or meniscus or something like that. You're complaining of lower back pain that's hard to disprove, and then you're out indefinitely on workers' comp, and you
potentially go out on a large pension
things like that,
or on an early pension, right?
So that it does cost the city money. There is some risk associated with it for the officers. Again, having spent 34 years in law enforcement, I could tell you, change is difficult for officers to accept, right? And we were just talking about physical fitness standards. Like a lot of departments provide incentive for folks to work out to try to reduce liability. But as we've seen, not every law enforcement officer is motivated to want to work out. So imagine saying, hey, now you've got to go train jiu-jitsu and you've got to get to at least a blue belt level. There's going to be so much pushback and resentment and those things. It's a difficult concept to try to instill into a workforce.
I remember when we talked to Jason from Jiu-Jitsu 50, probably like more than a year ago. I don't know if you've seen his profile. He does really, he just got his black belt. He's in law enforcement. I believe it's Minnesota, and he's putting out videos on his jiu-jitsu is very much focused around
weapons retention,
cuffing a suspect,
subduing a suspect,
and working with a partner. Working with a partner, and what are you doing together? Using your jiu-jitsu together to then subdue a suspect. I know that he has said, again, part of the pushback was kind of money. Again, for his department, at least, I think it was like more money related, and some of the things that you just said. I think that the only way that that's going to change is people have to age out, right? Right? The older guys that are maybe going to fight it a little bit. Our generation and younger, right? We're, like you said, you kept on saying you've grown up watching these fighters. Like, we've grown up watching jiu-jitsu and MMA, and we've seen this stuff. So it's not so crazy.
It's not a foreign concept.
20-year-old that's going to go into the academy, or a 20-something-year-old that's going to go into an academy to be like, oh yeah, of course I should know jiu-jitsu. I think that we just kind of those older guys that are maybe pushing back on it, kind of that they don't want to do it. They've got to age out of the system. They've got to retire and go. Is that?
Absolutely.
You think that's
it's one of those that's going to require a generational change.
Okay, yeah.
So we need to introduce it at the police academies and then maintain that kind of commitment and focus on it. Because for the cities, it looks like it's going to be not very cost effective until something happens, and then you get a lawsuit. Like we've seen.
It's a reactive thing instead of a proactive.
And then now you're paying millions and things like that. So in reality, at least there's these discussions, which is really, really good for law enforcement. Mm-hmm. And there's starting to be a little more appreciation and buy-in on it. And I think it is definitely going in the right direction. It is trending in the right direction.
In the office here in Miami, when you were the head agent in charge, were you often recruiting guys? Did you try to implement anything that you allowed to implement? Hey, come to jiu-jitsu, or let's train jiu-jitsu here. Like lunch break, let's go do some jiu-jitsu. Were you able to do that?
Absolutely, and I really can't take credit for that. So besides the mandated quarterly defensive tactics program that we have, that every agent has to go through at our office, we had morning training sessions. So every Tuesday and Thursday, there was both Muay Thai for about 45 minutes, and then after that, it was 1 hour of jiu-jitsu. Now, when I became the special agent in charge, of course, understanding the importance and the value of it, I invested on equipment, mat, space, and top quality.
I heard about this. I actually got invited once. I didn't get to make it.
Okay, so we were doing that every Tuesday and Thursday at the office, and both gi, no gi, Muay Thai, boxing, all of that, and it was open to all employees.
Was that something that you had to get approved? Were you able to make those decisions on your own?
He's the guy who approves.
Well, I don't know. Yeah. I don't know that hierarchy. It was just like, hey, I'm going to buy some punching bags.
No,
put in a requisition 514, and we're going to.
Yeah,
you're able
that was my decision.
Okay, that's good. That's awesome.
So now, of course, at American Top Team West Pines, I've implemented that law enforcement program that we had over there, and I'm inviting folks from not only the Bureau, but other law enforcement agencies to come in. So Tuesdays and Thursdays at 7 a.m. at ATT West Pines, we have jiu-jitsu primarily for law enforcement to help develop that that skill set.
Okay.
Nice.
You were gonna
I was just gonna say something I don't feel like anybody really asks or even thinks about. Everybody's always asking well, why should police officers train and this and that? Is the enemy training?
Oh, absolutely.
Right. Like, you ever run into a perp or whatever, and it's like you go to do this, and they're like, not today. I know what I'm doing too. It's like I've done jujitsu with some people, and you kind of get a feel for people as well, right? Like when you go train at a gym or you go train at other gyms, you're just like, this guy's like a nice guy, or this guy's like a family guy, or whatever. This guy's a business owner. You run into a lot of those, like Elio, business owner. But then sometimes you run into some people that are just like, you're pretty grimy, bro. I could just tell.
They weed themselves out of this world. I mean, I think.
It's funny. There's so back in the 90s when I was a cop in California, there was a real push about, for law enforcement officers to exercise, eat healthy, and all of that. So the California Peace Officers Standards and Training made these posters of these inmates in San Quentin and Fulton working out, and you've seen those, how jacked they are.
He's training, bro.
It says they didn't miss their workout. Did you?
100%.
And so I still remember those, and that was extremely motivating, because I knew, right, you want to prepare yourself for the worst, most frightening type of confrontation, and then you hope that never happens. You prepare for the worst and hope for the best.
That's martial arts. That's the concept.
The
of
prep is in the gym, and the easy part is out there.
I have to say too, like if you're going to go in the military, you're going to face conditions where you need to be fit. I see police work the same way.
Up here,
I don't know how it was not a part of police work.
I think it's changing. I mean, just we're talking about it more. The Gracies are talking about it more. I mean, I think it's there's going to be this huge
when they
push.
need some food.
Yeah,
What's
right.
up?
I said,
He's
fat
singing.
cops. What you gonna do?
Yeah, no, I mean,
what you gonna feed them when they come
I think
for
it's
you?
extremely irresponsible, right? I think it's if it's one of those situations where if you're not going to think about yourself, you have to think about the guy standing next to you, the woman standing next to you, your partner, the other officers. You're putting them in just as much danger. If they've got to now help you get out of a situation, right? I mean, I'm preaching to the choir here, I know, but if I've got to. Somebody's got to help me now because I'm not fit, and now it just becomes a shit show. Yeah. I mean, that's on me. That's not on me for not being responsible for my own fitness.
I will also I don't want to say play devil's advocate, but just say it's also the mental game is so tough because it's like being a police officer and LEO. I don't know about you, but every single cop that I met, I found out that they were a cop by accident. Cops don't tell you they're cops. Police officers are they don't say anything, and firefighters are like CrossFitters, bro. They can't wait to tell you that they're.
Wait a minute! I think I believe that we have a CrossFitter in the room.
Oh, that's the word.
Oh, you said you did something. Oh, she said she did something else.
No.
I think my mind went to CrossFit.
No, it's like a firefighter, a CrossFitter, and a pilot walk into a bar, and because they told you. But anyways, what I'm saying is the mental aspect is being a police officer, being an LEO, a person in charge of first of all, you're jaded from everything that you see. Yeah. You're dealing with the worst parts of humanity, and then you're let's say you're a patriot. You're like an American citizen. You love America. You love Americans, right? And now you're literally going after people who are your people, and you're just oh my god, bro! This guy's my guy. So it's like you also have to have mental training to stay focused. Essentially, walking by that poster every day. Did you miss your workout? They didn't miss their workout. That's also part of the aspect too, I believe. Yeah. And that could be taught at the gym as well. I feel like even training when you don't want to train should be implemented.
So I have a question for our studio audience member. What is it that you train?
I just train lift.
Okay. All right. No martial arts?
No martial arts.
Oh.
Heavy gym lift.
Yeah. Is bodyguard with the security
She's
detail?
Already deadly as it is.
Yeah.
if she tells you what she does, she's gonna have to wrist lock you or something.
Kill you.
I'm gonna be on some watch list after the podcast.
You don't want to watch me.
So we're going back. So you started training early in your law enforcement career. You did get in. I'm sorry. What's that point that you got into jiu-jitsu? You were still a law enforcement officer in California.
I was. So actually, my martial arts journey started even younger. So I immigrated from the United States when I was 12 from Lebanon. Okay. Actually, when I came here, I couldn't speak a word of English. So
you picked it up really well.
Thank you.
Shwaya.
Pretty good.
So my parents wanted to help, my brother and I to not only work on our English, but make friends, assimilate into our new community and society. So they sought out different activities for us, and they knew that my brother and I liked martial arts. We were huge Bruce Lee fans and everything.
Oh yeah. You're right. You're right in that age group.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So they signed us up for karate. So I started martial arts at about 13, studying Chinese Kempo, and I did that throughout my teens all the way to getting my black belt.
Okay.
And then, of course, when I enlisted, my martial arts training had to stop because I was focusing on...
You were in the military as well?
Yes.
Which branch?
The Air Force. So I enlisted
Of
on my
course.
18th.
You're so smart.
Air Force. That's
Actually,
my-
We were gonna get there too, but I'm glad.
People ask me
Aim high.
why did you join the Air Force? Honestly, because that was the first recruiter that came and talked to me in high school.
Yeah.
She sold me on the GI Bill.
I'll tell you how big of an idiot I was. So, like, I had a good, like, ASVAB score. Everything, GT score was good. I did ROTC all through high school. I was already at E3. I was enlisted and everything. And I had an Air Force recruiter come up to me, and he was like, you go to the academy. And I was like, no, I'm going to be in the Army. Like, so dumb. So dumb. I turned it down. So you were in the Air Force for how many years?
So I enlisted on my 18th birthday, and between active and reserve, I was 13 and a half years.
Okay. Wow.
When I joined the FBI back in 1999, you couldn't be in the military and in the FBI. So I had to make the decision, and when I joined the FBI made me leave the reserves.
Blue you would have
blue to
stayed in.
black.
Oh,
You would-
absolutely. Now you can.
Yeah.
The
Oh,
Bureau
really?
policy has changed, and you can be in the FBI and be in the military reserves. But back then, I couldn't. And of course,
Jason, right?
Yes.
Jason,
Unless you're a Marine. They don't have the too many crayons.
Jason, if you're listening, I know Jason's going to listen to this episode. So Jason,
Bro, that dude's a crayon eater.
Miguel's talking.
Crayon eater, bro.
Yeah, it's funny. We talked about
Wow.
I never, I knew he was in the, I knew he was a Marine. I guess he was a Marine Reserve. He never talked about anything else. I thought I heard him say like Department of Justice at one point. I don't know. We don't have to talk about like where that fits in.
He's a
but he was
janitor.
like never. Again, like you say, he never knew. Never talked about it. Never knew. Just knew that every once in a while he was like away for 2 months. He was like, he's gone.
I knew when he
and then
dug
we'd
his
see
thumbs
we'd
into
see
my
a
eyeballs.
picture of like the American flag, like somewhere on some compound somewhere, but never talked about it, man. He always just was like totally under the radar until he moved to DC. Until
Yeah,
he
but what are you
moved
gonna
to
do,
Little bit
bro?
of a
Like,
stigma.
I was like, I was like, I didn't know he's FBI. My voice went up like that too. I didn't know he's FBI.
Milton.
There's nothing to talk about.
Did your
Yeah.
dad?
Like, what
did
are you
your
gonna
dad
talk
talk
about?
about being a cop? Not too much.
Well,
Because like
when I was growing, if I think back, when I was growing up, I think it was more like he wasn't offering it up. He wasn't like, hey, I'm a cop. He wasn't like. I mean, there's some guys that are like, yeah, I'm in law enforcement. When he retired, my mom bought the whole family. We all got a gold badge, his gold badge. As a matter of fact, I was trying to get onto the NYPD, and I got that as a Christmas gift. And I'm like, did they call? Why are you giving me this? Like, I was all excited, like I didn't even realize it. And I was like, oh, it's like it was my dad's badge.
You were
And I was
ready,
like, but
bro.
I was like, what's going on? And but I think he talked about it more. More later. I mean, there's a close community. All his friends are cops. All his friends are retired cops. One of his best friends is a guy that he went to the academy with. My parents were the godparents to his kids, and they're like family. Those are like aunts and uncles to me. I think was the 1013 Club. There's a law enforcement organization. Is it 1013? Is that that's
I'm
a
not
code?
sure.
It's like I think it's the 1013 Club, law enforcement club, and a lot of the guys from New York are in it. So it's like more, spoken about now. He wears that. He still has that badge. He wears it with pride.
Yeah,
but
afterwards it's good.
I think it was more like. I mean, I know other cops outside of my father. I would say that a lot of cops were just like, I don't want to get involved. I don't want anybody to know I'm a cop because I don't want to get involved when there's a problem. Everything. Gee,
It's like having a
they
doctor
come to you
in
like,
the
hey, you got to
family.
help me out. Or
That's the worst, bro.
Yeah,
I know he had my uncle out of jail one time.
Or when people find out I was in law enforcement, they would tell me about their last traffic stop and things like that. So
Can you take care of
I was
this
the
ticket
same,
for
right?
me?
So when I was, especially as a police officer, and then when I was young in my career, I didn't advertise that I was either a police officer or as an FBI agent, right? Of course, as my role within the FBI changed, and then most recently, I was the face of the FBI in Miami, right? All press conferences, everything that dealt with community outreach, engagement with our partners and things like that was part of my responsibility. So it was hard to hide the fact that I was.
Oh, yeah. Like,
with
hey,
the
you
FBI.
look familiar. I know I've seen you somewhere, right? Aisle 5 at Publix. Somebody's like, you look. I know you from somewhere.
So.
Did you go to the high school here? But
Yeah.
and so let's go back. So so you black belt in
Chinese Kempo.
Chinese Kempo. Yeah. When do you get into jiu-jitsu on that timeline? Or again, where I'm trying to go is I want to
So
know,
in the
did things
mid-90s,
change for
yep.
you as when you started to learn jiu-jitsu? Did the way that you carried yourself as a law enforcement officer change?
Early on, probably not. But again, I began to look at jiu-jitsu, of course, not only because of UFC 1 and Hoist Gracie, but it began to get introduced to law enforcement defensive tactics, again, as a result of the LAPD study that had been completed in the mid-'90s. So I was a defensive tactics instructor for my police department, so I began to kind of research and study so that I could implement it to my training, not only for myself, but for the officers that I was responsible to train. And of course, as I joined the FBI, it was part of our defensive tactics. I sought out gyms, and as I mentioned, I would start training, and then I would have to stop because I was overseas here and there.
You never trained over there? Like you never just found somebody to scrap with?
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
And then, later on, it would be the first thing I packed was my gi.
Yeah.
So now, like, whenever I travel, the first thing I pack is my gi, belt, those kinds of things. And whatever room's left in the suitcase goes, the suit and whatever.
I don't need two pairs of underwear.
What's the preferred traveling gi?
So my preferred traveling gi, so I only wear Kings.
Got it.
I like Kings. That's my favorite.
Kings are
brand.
nice.
Yeah. So,
I've owned several.
Yeah. So I like Kings Ultralight.
Those are really nice. Yeah.
And they fit really well.
Are you a white gi guy?
Huh?
Are you a white gi guy?
No.
What are you?
Black.
Black gi guy. Got
We're
it.
not allowed to wear.
You got
in
any-
my gym, it's only white.
No, you can wear blue now, and
Not
then you
in
wear
my gym.
Yeah, no, black at competition, and I
Black
saw
at only black at competition. It's still white. If you're wearing blue, it's because you're a visitor or you didn't know any better.
I know.
I used to show up with a black gi, but I thought it was a joke. I'd be like Saturday, okay, I wore my white gis during the week, and I would show up at my gym in the beginning with the black gi. I'd be like, look at the guy with the black. Ooh, scary ninja. And I didn't get that he was telling me take off the fucking black gi, bro.
Yeah.
There's a white gi play. It's white gis.
So, but when I do travel, I actually take my white gi just because I know there are some gyms that have those
Respect.
protocols. Exactly.
You're more likely to encounter somebody that's like, it's
Yeah.
only white
Well,
here versus, no, we only do black here. Like,
Well, I made that
I think
mistake.
that's-
I went to a conference in San Diego.
You train at
an
Kron's?
FBI. No, and then I went to the Ribeiro Brothers gym.
Yeah.
And then they were like white only.
That's
so
how
I had to rent one of their gis.
Oh, by the way, we rent these beautiful geese here.
It's the same thing with
Suspect.
Kron Gracie.
Blatant
Yeah.
White gi
gi-ism.
only.
Well, I get it. Like now that I've been doing it, and I understand I didn't understand the business side. My coach. I don't think he'll be upset that I say a little OCD.
Yeah.
He likes to see everything. Like
No,
when we're taking a picture, like it's like, okay, move over, go. Like it's a little bit of a
He
production.
gets the belt in order.
It's the marketing for the gym. He's a business. He's a third degree black belt, but he's also a
I
businessman.
don't even think it's that, bro. I just think that's his freaking
OCD.
brain. Dude,
It's all white.
You have
and
to
he
meet
doesn't
this
like
guy.
when somebody. Open mats, not that big of a deal on a Saturday.
Yeah.
You're a visitor, but during
you
the week,
still
it's
gotta
kind
earn
of
it.
like it's
you still
white.
got to earn it. Like
Yeah.
when you go to his open mat, like it's still like a 30-minute class before the open mat. He's like, you got to earn the open mat.
Yeah, it's like
You gotta meet
yeah.
this guy.
For us, fortunately, the standing rule is if you're a white belt, it's white gi.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as you go to blue belt, then you can start looking at different color
Yeah, I
gis.
gotcha.
Blackie is just so much cooler.
It
isn't
is.
it? Blackie's
But
so
for
much
us,
cooler.
on
I've yet to wear
belt
one.
ceremonies, it's white gi for everyone. So when it's a formal event, or if we have a guest or instructor or anything like that, Professor Govea does, and the other professors, they do, want to make sure that we are representing, the appropriate, jiu-jitsu tradition and respect.
I do like our gym now. They're doing. There's I don't know. Do you know who Sophia Amarante is? She's a
Multiple-time
Felipe,
world
She's
champion.
been a world champion. She's a little tiny little thing, and
Yeah. So she gets a
badass.
hold of
yeah,
you.
Yeah, she's it's ridiculous. We're focusing a little bit more on competition now at the school. I think a lot of the focus was the kids program, and now those kids are becoming adults, and those adult kids, like their parents are training, and some even their parents, right? You get the kid, you get the parent later, right? And they're training for Vegas. They're going out to IBJJF in Vegas. Is that the What event were you training for right
So
now?
I'm training for the Worlds,
Where
but
is it?
it's in Vegas.
That's the-
At
okay,
the
so-
same time, there's the
ADCC 's.
Novice Con,
Okay.
and then
Yeah.
and others.
It was that last year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So for the white belts, there's a tournament specifically
Okay.
for them because Worlds is blue and
above.
higher, and then there's a novice, and then there's a kids one and all of that.
Yep.
So
So
they've
they're-
really turned into a major.
They all got their blackies.
Yeah.
So after you're competing, so we have a more and we have a huge female presence. Sometimes there are more women in our training sessions at night than there are men. For a little bit, we were separating them. Like she kind of created a women's program. We do train together, but we usually split the mats. The women and the girls roll with the girls. The guys roll with the guys. Few girls might cross over. A few of the more high level people they cross over, but it's very split. But I think she's made that push to start training. It's like moms and stuff that
Time
are
to
like
start getting smashed.
that
bro.
were sitting there for months watching their kids, and now they're going to Vegas to compete. So it's been fun, kind of fun to see that happen. But yeah, that kind of came in, I think, with her prompting, like, okay, let's get some blackies, let's have the competition team, let's do this more. Felipe's awesome. He's done some fight to wins. I think he's like 3-0 at fight to wins.
He's undefeated.
But he's not a IBJJF. Let me go compete guy.
He's always been the supporter and the coach for Sophia.
Yeah, I think it has a lot to do with back issues. So like training, like you have to train to go fight at an IBJJF is
my professor will tell you in the old days, right? You didn't go past blue if you didn't compete.
Yeah.
In Brazil, he would tell me he knew blue belts that had been blue belts for 15 plus years because if they did not compete, they were not going to
like
be,
Helio. He was a blue belt at the end.
Yeah. Well, it was like
know.
white. I think there was only 3 belts back in the day, but blue.
I was
think
making
that was
a
like
joke,
a dark,
yeah,
like a navy blue being the one that Elio Gracie wore, and I think Hoist Gracie, that's what he wears, blue,
Yeah.
And the
because he
Valente
doesn't have
brothers
anybody
as
to
well.
promote him.
Yeah.
He says, I'm not going to wear a different belt because like his father was the one that always promoted him. So out of respect, he wears the blue. Actually, we had the interview with
Sandbaggers,
Eli
bro.
Knight that explained that to us. I didn't realize that. Eli Knight does a lot of like jiu-jitsu videos. Do you know who
I
Eli
know
is?
who he is, yeah,
He wears a blue tip.
Yeah.
He wears a blue tip, and I said, "Listen, not that I wanted to buy it. I was googling it to figure like what does the blue tip signify. It's nowhere. He ordered a custom. Nobody even sells it. Yeah. It was, and he told me the story of
It's like an homage.
Hoist Gracie, and it's an homage to Elio.
The lineage of Hoist Gracie.
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
So what's your stance on smashing brand new people?
How do you handle? We talk about that a lot. We talk
Yeah.
about like I know, like I'll call myself. I'm very gentle with new people. Again, because I think I see the business side of it, and I know that this is a business for my coach, and if I smash somebody that's on their trial week, it does him no good, right? We want them to come in. We want to smash them later after they commit, right?
I'm the opposite. I'm I'm doing like Sports Center highlight reel.
He grabs the chair from the side.
I'm like,
How do you handle that at your school?
How do you do it?
So everybody's different, right?
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of smashing
The new guy?
students,
Yeah.
especially, I'm more about inspiring them and getting them to, to grow, to love the sport and, get addicted to it. So, of course, I don't just, go completely easy on them, but I like to fight at my, just above my training partner level.
Yeah.
So I'm pushing them if I'm not in my training camp. So now if I'm in training camp like I am right now, I'm not going to roll with a new person or, ideally with a white belt. So I'm going to be looking
Seasoned.
to get smashed.
Yeah.
So I'm picking on guys that I know or they're going to smash me. Like last night I was rolling and, one of my teammates like, all right, what do you want to work on? And I'm like, getting smashed. And he's like, okay. And he smashed me for 5 minutes. He was, heavier, and younger and stronger. So things like that. So it depends. But if I am going with someone and, fairly new, I'm not a fan of.
How was your
smashing.
first like real jiu-jitsu? Because I know you've been like trickled in with martial arts combatives, all that type of training, but like your first real, like you go to a real gym, whatever belt you are. Like, how was your first real jiu-jitsu experience where you're like, oh, damn, like.
It's funny. So as I mentioned, I've traveled around the world, and when I became serious about jiu-jitsu, I began to pack my gi. So the funniest experience for me is I went to Brazil for work. And Conan Silveira, the head coach at American Top Team, arranged a training session for me, or an opportunity to go
An
to
execution.
yes. So,
I started to laugh. I'm like,
he's like, I know the right guy. He's gonna take you to his gym, and you're gonna get some great training. I'm like, okay, this sounds amazing. What could be better than training jiu-jitsu in Brazil?
Yeah.
So I text the guy, and he's like, can't wait to train. We're so excited. He's like, here's the address of the gym, right? So I asked the taxi outside of the hotel to take me there, and they refused to take me because it was in a favela.
all the way up there.
So the hotel concierge got me an Uber that took me to the
A favela Uber.
to outside of the favela. I wouldn't even go in.
Oh shit! Really?
And then the guy had to come down, get me, and then walk me up. So I walk into, and it's a Carlson Gracie affiliated gym. It actually didn't have a mat. It was like plywood with a tarp, and that's the mat because one of these old schools, no AC. So we do the the typical, the warm up, the techniques, and all of that, and it was time to train. And then the professor, the head coach, goes, George, you're gonna roll with this guy. And then he brought out this brown belt young guy, the most jacked guy I had seen, and he had jiu-jitsu tattooed across his chest.
Just in case you forgot.
I think he was thinking that he was probably serious about jiu-jitsu, huh?
Yes. No, and so I knew what it was, right? I knew that this guy was going to smash me so that I would be very respectful and polite to
everyone
the
else,
gym and everyone else. And I knew that.
the man enforcer.
He was. So for that round, he just destroyed me, crushed me, and then afterwards he was really nice, patted me on the back, and then the professor was like, all right, hey, George, roll with this one, and after that, everybody was welcoming.
Just make sure you knew the rules.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So now I know wherever I go, my first roll, and, every gym does that. Your first roll, they're testing you to see, are you going to be a jerk?
Yeah.
Or are you there to really kind of, benefit from the experience? So I get that every time I go somewhere. And
what did you tell Conan when you came home about that experience? What did you say?
That's not what I was thinking you were going to send me, right? Because there's so many great gyms. But on the other hand, it was an incredible experience.
I would think if it was, if I'm thinking, if I can like take a peek into his mind, do you think he was saying like, I want you to see how the old school world
Absolutely.
I want
That's
you to
what
get
it
a
was.
feel
and
for
he
that.
told me that.
Yeah,
This
okay.
is,
Like
because
where I
of
came
course
from.
he's a Carlson Gracie black belt.
Right. Isn't
This
he?
is
He's one. Was he Brazilian top team as well?
No,
I know, like
that was,
Laborio. Right?
Laborio,
When he was, but he's like he's like one of the originals from ATT, right?
Yes.
Yeah, from the beginning, right?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I mean, I would pay to do something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So so those are the
Were you like,
amazing
were
things
you
that
like
I've had.
fucking when you were walking out of the favela when nobody would come pick you up? Were you like fucking?
At least-
no, I had somebody
Son of
escort
a-
me out. And,
At least it was downhill, you know.
They're like, good luck, take care, have a nice
but
walk.
I've gotten to do jiu-jitsu in Dubai, so I went to the Nogueira Brothers gym there. And I rolled there. I trained jiu-jitsu in Nigeria.
Oh wow!
I did Muay Thai in Thailand. So I've had the opportunity. When you kind of start doing this, the opportunities that that you can pursue and experience are those that you're never going to forget.
Do you feel like in your own gym? Do you feel like are you conscious of like somebody new that comes in? Like, are they there for the right reason? Do they know me? Like, just somebody wants to roll with you, like. Maybe they want to try to smash me because they know who I am, or my background is. Does it ever?
I haven't experienced
No.
that.
Okay.
Right? So, and then fortunately, at ATT West Pines, we have some serious
They're
killers.
like, FBI, whatever.
I'm trying to remember.
Whatever.
I'm trying to remember if he just moved to Oregon. You remember him and his wife is a black belt. You remember the girl with the curly hair, Vanessa? And then I think he trained there because he told me to come by.
Jamie? You talking about
Jamie,
Jamie?
yeah.
Oh, did they move? They moved?
Well, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. They're
Okay.
on the West Coast.
Yeah.
now,
Yeah.
I think he trained there as well. He told me to stop by a couple times.
Where he at
Mhm.
ATT Coconut Creek or
No.
West
Pines. Mm-hmm.
He was.
It's like is it almost like it's is that the one that's It's really west on, it was at like Palm or Pines Boulevard, whatever.
Yes, exactly. Right.
Yeah,
so
it's
it's,
like you go
the
past the
AMP
UFC
Fitness off of Grand Palms, right off of Pines, right there. We're on the second floor. So of course, Professor Wilson Govea, but we have some phenomenal coaches, and
He told me it was a really good school.
oh, it's an incredible.
It's a
school.
good environment, but like you're gonna like there's no class.
I've been, and I'm not just saying this because it's my gym, but I've had the opportunity to train really all over, and I haven't found an environment as good as.
I think,
but it starts with the coach.
yeah.
I
I think a lot of gyms, man, are just so. I just like love jujitsu because like you could essentially walk into almost any gym and it's just like, oh, come in. Like,
what did I see the other day? I'm sorry, we interviewed Victoria Anthony. She's a wrestler, and she was talking about. We were talking about the differences in the communities, the wrestling community and the jiu-jitsu community. Oof. And she's like, with wrestling, it's just like the girls would be like, there's no like shaking hands, be like, get out of here, get out of the way. Like it's like that before, and it's like that after. Where we know, like, even like jiu-jitsu and MMA, right? You see the guys that were going after each other, and in the UFC press conferences, at the end they're hugging and it's respectful. Jiu-jitsu is just like, you just finished choking me. It's just like, hey, you want to go get some acai? You want to go get a slice of pizza? You want to go, right? It's this. What is it about jiu-jitsu that makes our community so different? Because it's definitely not like, even again in IBJJF, two guys that hate each other. It's very rare to see somebody that's unsportsmanlike. I mean, it's the rarity, right?
Absolutely.
It's usually not even the fighters. Like sometimes the fighters will have more beef, like with that other fighter's coach.
Yeah,
that's usually what you see.
What do you think?
No, I mean that's the other really truly appealing thing about jiu-jitsu. It is a it does provide that positive environment. Like some of my friends now are folks that I've actually faced in different tournaments, and I've maintained contact, and we exchange not only text, but we follow each other on social media now, and
to see how they're training.
That as well, because I know I'm going to face that guy. But we are supportive. It is a very supportive culture, and there is that mutual respect because we all know, the experience, and then what it takes, the dedication, the commitment,
the effort, for sure.
And then the true spirit of martial arts.
Yeah,
that's what I like about it.
I definitely think jiu-jitsu specifically. Again, we talk about this a lot. That it's definitely going to weed out the assholes. It's very rare that there's a jerk in a gym that's there for a long time.
Jerk in the gym.
It's really it's really hard for a guy like that to thrive, to learn, for people to want to train with that person, and they wind up just weeding themselves out. They're like, okay, nobody wants to train with me, nobody wants to roll with me. I try to match up.
People ask me that question, about my teammates or the gym, and I always give them that honest answer that there's nobody in my gym that I don't really, really like. Yeah. I literally, everybody in my gym I like. We're teammates, we're friends, we're kind of a family. And it's one of those few environments where you kind of have that connection, that click, that culture, that
camaraderie.
Everybody that's been involved with the show that helped me get it started, everyone was a teammate. Yeah. Everybody
and supportive.
Gym. Everybody had their own very different personality, but they were all part of the gym, with the exception of Bo, who we still can't get on the mat. I even gave him a black gi with a white belt.
He wears Havaianas.
If you see him, you'll see him on a normal day. You'll see him in a jiu-jitsu shirt because of all the stuff that we get. You'll see him. You'd think he trains jiu-jitsu.
He's got all the whole
good
culture.
parts.
He does all the good parts. He eats acai. He's tan. He's got beautiful legs.
Partakes in
and like wears Havaianas, jiu-jitsu shirts.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
He doesn't train. If you see him, though, you think like he's got the whole like surf culture down, but he's missing the jiu-jitsu.
I got the image going.
I got the image, Fake it till you make it, baby.
Time out.
Sure.
Real quick, everybody pull the mic in a little bit more.
All right.
Yeah. So one thing, like if you're gonna like talk to, try to do this, that's why you kind of see me. It looks like I got my head like his neck must be hurting.
It's a strange pivot.
You'll kind of hear right. You hear yourself when you're like, I'm going.
That was my other question. Is everybody hearing well in the?
Yeah, I'm good.
A bit late in the game for that, but all right.
So
ready?
Go ahead.
3, 2.
So have you ever has there ever been a situation just in your personal life? Like my coach jokes a lot about, he's like, I'm teaching you jiu-jitsu so that the old lady in aisle 5 that you get into an argument with in public,
you're winning.
Has there ever been a time where you've had to use just in your personal life, not in the capacity as an LEO, but just in your personal life where maybe a bar fight, something's happened? Have you ever had to?
No. Thankfully, no.
Yeah.
But I'll be honest, again, after 30 years of law enforcement, I avoid putting myself in those situations.
Yeah.
That's the key.
And I try to avoid, getting myself in a situation where I find
It's amazing. I stopped getting in trouble when I stopped going into the clubs.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Just ended.
I've always avoided fights.
I was such a wuss. I never got into fights.
No, the one thing
The
jiu-jitsu
minute they
has
got
really
into
helped is, not only does it instill, the self-confidence and all of those things, but now, again, where I am in life, I'm going to walk away
Yeah.
from, from a
Buy you a
situation, because I'm one.
We've talked about it.
Mature
Where
enough to now.
I'm going to hurt. If we get it, I'm going to wind up hurting that person. It's going to be more trouble than it's worth because this person's probably going to be the one that winds up getting hurt in this situation.
Right.
That, and then you never know what could happen, and is the person cutting you off, or somebody at the supermarket getting the last thing that you wanted. Is it really worth?
Can't
the
jiu-jitsu a
potential?
gun.
Zero road rage.
Yeah.
I have zero road rage.
Not
I tell
me.
when my wife is driving and she's like, yes, I'm like, you don't know. Okay, maybe he's an asshole, but you don't. That guy could be on the way to the hospital because his wife's having a baby.
Yeah.
Maybe he had a bad day, but maybe there's something going on. Just let it go. That's not even worth
Exactly.
getting excited about. You just don't know what that guy's going through. Maybe there's something going on, but or maybe he just wants to get home because he wants to have a beer. I don't know,
have
but I'm
no-
not going to let that get me excited.
I have no sympathy on.
I
the
know
road.
for me, jiu-jitsu helped me with that because I definitely got into some, go out to the clubs, single guy, didn't get married till I was in my
Hothead.
40s. I was out there. I was getting in trouble, and we were doing stupid shit. You do stupid shit when you're, when you have no responsibilities, and you
idle
don't
hands,
have the
man.
discipline of. I don't. Once I was still
You're
single when
freaking
I
hotheads.
started jiu-jitsu, and I started to realize I'm like, oh shit. What I realized was, I don't know what these other guys know, right? Because I'm rolling with an accountant. I'm rolling with a law enforcement officer.
Secret
I'm
assassins,
rolling
bro.
with housewives. Right? We used to train. I'm rolling with. I don't know what that guy knows. And then in Florida, it's like I call it the Wild West. Like everybody could be carrying these days. So it's like it's not worth it. But that didn't really happen for me. Not that I was like running around punching people in the face, but it didn't happen to me until I really started to get into jiu-jitsu and I started to realize I'm like, okay, yeah. I think it kind of calms you down. I call it the quiet confidence. I think jiu-jitsu and martial arts in general gives you this quiet confidence where you go, I can walk away, no ego. I'm gonna walk away from this, and I'm gonna have some 200-pound guy trying to choke me later today. So this is like
Peaceful warrior.
this is
dude.
nothing like that's the hard.
I'm
That's the hard.
gonna
part.
walk away from that fight and then talk to my friends about how I would have won that fight.
It's the peaceful warrior, concept.
So
Yeah.
we talked before about some people might recognize you, right? So hey, I know you. If you don't mind, can we talk a little bit about what kind of did elevate you a little bit in the public eye, right? The Saddam interrogation, right?
Yes.
Can you talk about that a little bit?
Of course, yeah, absolutely.
So I mean, I was watching some of your interviews and things like that, but you were in the FBI for 5 years at that point.
Just under 5.
And how did you feel in that moment? Did you feel ready for that, or was it like, what is going on here?
couldn't imagine.
Isn't there somebody that's been on for 10 years or maybe that wants to do this? Like, was it that, or did you walk in and you knew that you were the man for the job?
Oh no! When I got that call, I was scared.
Yeah.
Crapless.
Yeah,
absolutely. It was, so when they first told me that I had been selected to interrogate Saddam Hussein, it was a really, really scary feeling. More so because I knew what it meant, and the responsibility that came with that. I was going to be representing the FBI, and I definitely did not want to be the one to let the FBI down or fail to meet expectations. Those kinds of things were more at what I was.
It wasn't about him.
No,
It was about
bad.
And
your
also,
stuff.
also, your
but also a
family,
little bit
too,
about
man.
him.
You're
And
Middle Eastern.
yes.
Yeah.
But when you think about it, when I first thought about it, he was larger than life. He brought this country to 2 wars. Watched him on the world stage for a number of years. It's like saying, "Hey, you're gonna interview the president of the United States." Initially there's going to be those reservations, those fears, those anxiety. Once I started, it's just like getting ready for a jiu-jitsu match, right? when you're waiting, it's the anxiety. But once you start
Warm
really,
up.
all of that is gone. So when I started preparing for the interrogation, developing my interview plan, all of those things, those thoughts immediately went away. And then I started to think
Focus
about
on what you were good at. They picked you for a reason, right?
Yeah. And then it becomes, like anything else, right? You're in the middle of it. You're not thinking about everything else. And I really actually equate it to jiu-jitsu. It's strategy. I'm sitting here. I'm trying to predict what move he's going to make. How am I going to sweep him? Yeah. How am I going to, dominate?
Let him get the sweep.
Yeah. So it's a mental chess game, or I like to call it intellectual combat.
Yeah.
It's my mind against the other person's, and one's going to win, one's going to lose, and who's ever better, who's ever more prepared, who's ever stronger is going to win at the end of the day. And that's what, that's one of the reasons why I was really drawn to interrogations, and I found that out, not only did it appeal to me, that, I was pretty good at it.
Was there a point where you were like, okay, I'm like days, weeks, months that you were like, okay, I'm comfortable now. Now this is, this is a normal day at the office now.
With him or just an interrogation?
No, with him.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I'll tell you, my biggest fear, what really scared me was going all the way there, being selected, all of this preparation, flying to Iraq, which was very, very difficult because it's not easy to get to Iraq in the middle of a war and those kinds of things. Get there and have all of this stuff done, walk in and say, how you doing? I'm George Piro. I'm here to talk to you. And he goes, get out.
Yeah.
Then I'd have to turn around, get back on that plane, make that long, sad journey home. And
hold on, you gotta eat Subway at BIOP before you leave.
So that was my biggest fear. So for me, my first goal was just to get him to talk to me.
Let his guard down a little bit.
Second one was to get him to ask me to come back. Third was to get him to ask me to go outside. So it's
can you explain that? You really he had to be kind of invite you in a little bit.
Well, no, it wasn't necessarily
like
invite me in, but I wanted him to actually ask me. So here's what happened. Our first interaction, he was sick. He asked to see a doctor. The doctor only spoke English. Saddam only spoke Arabic. I was in a position, and there was really no one else with the clearance to translate for the doctor, because where Saddam was being held was highly classified.
Okay.
So they said, "Hey, you're stuck."
So you were that conduit to some things that he needed.
Between him and getting the medical attention that he needed.
And he was in a vulnerable position where he needed you, essentially.
Well, developing that rapport, as we talked about, and the dependency and all of those kinds of things. So at the conclusion of that, I wanted him to say, "Hey, come back, because I want you to come back."
Yeah.
So it was more about him mentally making that
almost
gesture.
and kind of needing you,
exactly.
Now I know that I need this guy, and this is the guy that I want.
I think eventually you come to terms in what type of position you're in.
Yeah.
And then it's like the 5 stages of grief, I would think. Like at first it's like denial, and then you're angry, and then you're like, oh, okay.
But when you think about it, it's more about passive submission to authority, right? So initially he was very, very resistant to being told what to do. He was very guarded. He was, he didn't want to, answer a lot of questions and everything like that, which is, you expect that.
Yeah.
But what, over time, I just wanted him to slowly and passively submit to my authority, my position, and, ask me to come back. Another thing that, we did was we controlled time. Like, so he wanted to know what time it was all the time. The only person that had a watch was me. Mm-hmm. So for him to get the time, he could only ask one person for that. And I would gladly provide it to him and everything like that. What he didn't realize is that over time, he was passively submitting to my authority. Did
you give him the real time, or you said you controlled time?
I gave him the real time, and I would show him my watch, which would drive him nuts.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because he was realizing how long he had been in there? Is that what you mean? Or
well, yeah. So if you've gone through SEER training, I know you were in the military, right? Survival, evasion, resistance, and escape training. One of the things that they tell you is you cannot give up time, right? If you give up, wanting to know what time it is, what day it is, how long you've been in captivity, you're basically giving up. So we couldn't prevent telling him what time it was because he had to pray and things like that. But we
Which
wanted,
way was Mecca?
yeah, but
Usually
we
spray
wanted
painted on
to
the floor.
control how he got that and kind of draw him into asking.
Okay.
Because initially he was very defiant. He didn't want anything. He didn't ask for anything. Right. So that's when I talk about, that chess game, the
okay.
intellectual combat. You
Wow.
know? So getting him to ask what time it seems like a very simple gesture, but it's not because he's asking.
Yeah. Wow.
So I show him what time it is, and I tell him what time it is, and
That would get him. What would get him angry? That he would realize how much time he was there, or that he had to ask.
He had to ask.
That the fact that he had to ask.
he would say,
That guy never asked for anything ever. Like he
and then
ran.
he would say, "How is it that the greatest military in the world can't afford watches for their soldiers? Because none of the soldiers that guarded him, none of the MPs,
Well, you can't
the
wear
medical
anything.
staff,
on purpose.
on purpose.
Yeah.
Okay.
No
Right.
name tags, no patches.
So he could only ask one person.
Wow.
So, and again, what he didn't realize is he was becoming more and more dependent on me.
Yeah.
Dependent on me for time, dependent on me for translation, for medical attention, dependent on me to help him with his dietary needs, dependent on me to just for social interaction. We all have to have human interaction.
Yeah.
When it's funneled and controlled, it really creates that environment where it helps develop that rapport and that.
What was your background at that point? Had you been an interrogator?
Oh,
Or-
yes.
So you now in the 5 years at the FBI or in other parts of law enforcement, the military, you had been an interrogator?
No, so I was when I was a detective, I worked homicide, so I had done a number of interrogations.
It's not
So-
your first rodeo.
And then I found that it's something that appealed to me, kind of like jiu-jitsu, and then I was pretty good at it, so I devoted a lot of time
You
to
smile a lot when you say.
I mean, it's
a different smile than when you talked about jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
I feel like I've seen something different when you're talking about that. Like
That's
you
my
enjoyed
first,
it.
That's my first passion,
okay. There
my
you go.
first love.
It's like a shitty job, but I can see how that could be.
There's nothing better than when you're interviewing somebody and they've been denying that they were responsible for that shooting, for that murder, for that crime, and over time, and then when they actually finally admit to it, it's an incredibly.
You ever hit him with the, are you a murderer? No. Does your mom know you're a murderer? And they're like, yeah, no,
I'm a little smoother than that.
I'm listening to you, I'm saying this in all seriousness now, and I'm listening to you, and I'm thinking of masterclass. Have you seen those masterclass like videos? Like you can register for a masterclass and learn from somebody
on like
who's done
poker,
that.
and they'll have like Phil Ivey, or
like
if you, or a
speaking.
chef, and they'll have Gordon Ramsay.
You haven't seen that? You haven't did that?
It's a
It's
paid.
like-
I'm
one,
looking
not
at
the
you
poker
going,
one.
I'm like, why haven't I seen you in a master?
you're a poker player?
Legitimately, I'm not bullshit. I'm like, this is like, you should be doing a masterclass. Like, masterclass, reach out to this man. Like, this is
Masterclass. Reach out to
yeah.
this
I mean,
man.
and then people, you're teaching your subject, and people would register for the class, and then see it
believe
online.
it or not,
and it's recorded.
it has much broader application than just interrogating a suspect, right? It's one of those skills or that art that we're really losing as a society because we've become so dependent on phones and social media. Is this that interaction?
We talked about it before.
engagement.
It's like I love. We started like this.
Yes.
We started with at least five people,
the
and then it went to
dynamics
Zoom, and it was good. And we got to get different names that we might not have gotten on because they were in other parts. Sometimes they were in Florida and locally, but because of COVID, and then it turned more into the Zoom thing, and that's good. But I like this.
This is the best.
It's like I like the looking somebody in the face and
It's textile.
it's a different dynamic. So
And it's also there's no lag.
Tactile.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then from an interrogator's
Tactile.
Not
perspective,
textile. This is
I
textile.
read off of my the person I'm interrogating. I can quickly adjust. I can get a perspective and take it in that direction.
I'm gonna be so self-conscious now for the rest of the interview. Like,
Not me.
don't rub your nose. Don't
I
touch your
love
nose.
this.
I think it's a good
If you
skill
really do
for,
play
for
poker, please invite me.
it's a good skill to be a job interviewer.
Oh, absolutely.
So where does that take you? So, okay, so we were talking about the time and Saddam Hussein. So can you tell us a little bit more about that time with him?
Yeah, so it ended up being 7 months. So to date, it's still the longest interrogation in FBI history, and it's the first interrogation of a former head of state to be conducted by the FBI.
Wow.
So I spent about 2 months just building rapport, right? I wanted to get a true understanding of who he was, his thought process, his moods, his perceptions, those kinds of things, because those were going to be really important as we talked about or got to the point where we were going to talk about the key things, which was Iraq's WMD program and Iraq's alleged relationship with Al Qaeda, leading up to the 9/11 attacks. So those were the things that we wanted to know. The thing about those were, if I got them on day one or I got them a year later, their value or how important they were wasn't going to change. It was just getting that information.
Get there,
yeah. Wow. So about 2 months on nothing but building rapport with him. And then only after I felt that I had developed that strong rapport where it would be hard for him, not impossible, but hard for him to say, George, I don't want to talk to you anymore. Hit the road. Right. So once I felt that I had developed that connection and that rapport, then I kind of started to work on, changing his kind of mindset and thought process. As an interrogator, some of the things that I need to develop early on and during that rapport building phase is I got to figure out what you value in life. What means to you the most, right? So just here in a couple of minutes, now, you've repeatedly talked about, your lovely wife and everything like that. So if I wanted to leverage anything, I would be talking about that, and the impact that would have on your life and, the direction that she's taking you and everything like that. For Saddam, it was his legacy and his place in history. So the next phase worked on...
Not a selfish man at all.
Yeah, very, very selfish, right? So talked about that, and I did a comparison against historical leaders in Iraq and how they're viewed, respected, admired, accomplishments, and then looked at his and how is the world going to remember him to get him to really start accepting some responsibility or some criticism and kind of changing that perspective. And then I got lucky, like the old saying, sometimes it's better to be lucky than good, right? He got sick. I had to take him to the hospital. And that experience really, really brought us together. And what I mean by that is that we had to fly on a Black Hawk to get to the green zone to where the hospital was. And we're at Cropper, which is at the airport. So it's about a 35-minute helicopter ride. As you know, a combat takeoff on a Black Hawk and a
straight up, baby.
Oh, yeah.
Let's go.
It's almost like a roller coaster ride.
Yeah.
I mean, most
also
people
on a regular, just a C-130 or C-17, they just freaking go, wow.
So I didn't realize he was afraid of flying. So and he's blindfolded, shackled. So when he's
blindfolded, he can't know where he is.
Yeah,
okay.
exactly. Because all prisoners are transported.
He knows the
that
country
way.
pretty well.
So when we took off, he started to have a panic attack. So the only person next to him is me, and the only thing I could do is for 35 minutes was try to comfort him. And I'm whispering to him in his ear, and I'm trying to really calm him and everything like that. And during the entire time in the hospital, I never left his side. That had a really lasting
imprinted
impact
on him.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it got our relationship got so tight that it became hard for him to lie to me.
Yeah.
And only then did we start talking about WMD and Al Qaeda and things like that. So that was about month 5. And then once we got what we needed from him, he was turned over to the Iraqis so that they could prosecute him for his atrocities.
Wow. In that time, do you start to develop feeling, like, I don't know a better word, like feeling for that person? Do you like empathy, I guess, right? Do you start to empathize with him and feel bad for him? And, almost, is there a real friendship that can evolve from a situation like that? Like, he's a horrible person, but
for me, thankfully, I never developed those feelings.
Does that happen? I mean, can that happen? Almost
happen.
Like what's that syndrome?
It's called Stockholm syndrome.
Like Stockholm syndrome, right?
Yes.
So you're almost.
So I didn't have that.
No, okay, all right. What you've said, when you develop a relationship, and the way you're saying
there's a couple of reasons why that didn't happen for me, and it really helped me. One, again, I understood why I was there. In the FBI, we have a very popular saying: successes belong to the organization, failures belong to the individual. If you do something good in the FBI, nobody cares, because that's the norm and that's the expectation. You do something bad, you become famous.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to be the one to.
That is funny.
I didn't want to be the one to let the FBI down. So the pressure was on to make sure I met the expectations and the standards of the FBI. Second, when you're reading what mustard and sarin gas does to women, children, the elderly, which were the majority of its victims, and you see a really clear understanding of the atrocities that took place while he was the dictator and things like that, it's easy to stay very...
draw that line.
And then going back to, I think you got the sense I'm a competitive person. And, for me, and that was not lost on me. At the end, there was going to be a winner and there was going to be a loser.
Yeah, and it was going to be him.
There's also no doubt going into that interrogation that was a bad guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like normally, like let's say you said you were a detective, right?
Yeah.
You might have been doing an interrogation on an innocent person, and I'm sure you've found innocent people, and we've all met people wrong place, right time. It's like, bro, you look real guilty right now.
Yeah.
And then you hear it out, and you find definitive proof that they're not. But
I would have whispered in his ear on that helicopter, "You fucked now."
Yeah. I got what I need to know.
Well, but having said all that, he was a very charismatic, very charming person, incredible sense of humor. So having to spend 5 to 7 hours with him every single day was easy because it was enjoyable in this sense, right?
So
very, very
Ted
tough.
Bundy.
Exactly.
Dynamic.
But
Most
on the other hand,
psychopaths are.
it wasn't very difficult for me to spend that kind of time.
Mm-hmm.
Now, having said all that, right, when he was executed, I was given the opportunity to go to his execution, but I passed on that, and I'm really glad I did. I did my job. I met my responsibility. I represented the FBI. I performed my mission, but I didn't want to be there.
No regrets about not doing that.
Absolutely no regrets. I'm so glad I didn't do that.
You didn't have to go to the graduation.
That's no fun, man.
So how did things change when you came back? I mean, it's obviously a career changing event, right? Where did you, once you came, did you come back? Did you immediately come down to Miami where they're like, give this guy Miami,
No.
Pizza party?
What what happens next? You're done with the interrogation. And,
I get, so I make fun of it, but it's a great representation about the FBI and how the expectations is excellence all the time, right? So I spent nearly 8 months with Saddam Hussein in a war zone, under the most austere conditions, right? When I land at the airport, there's nobody there to pick me up.
That's what I like. That's what I like.
Right. So what? You interrogated one of the most brutal dictators of our modern time. So what?
Yeah.
Who cares? Right. So I came back and
was that a little on purpose? Was not on purpose?
No, not on purpose. But it's
let's
just,
remind
it's
him.
normal.
No, okay.
So I come back and I go right back to work. Yeah. So after that, I spent 6 months authoring the prosecutive report that was used by the Iraqis to prosecute him. And then after that, I was up for rotation to go to Afghanistan. So from Iraq, I went and did a combat tour in Afghanistan, and enjoyed that.
So not a lot of fanfare around this.
Not at all.
Oh, okay.
Not at all.
If anything, I would expect your colleagues would be like, I could have done that in less time.
Did you have any of that? Like, really? Did you really?
What took you so? Yeah, like what took you so long?
Thankfully, I didn't have. I didn't have any of that.
A lot of ball busting.
I mean, honestly, everybody treated me the same. It's like another day at the office.
Thing. I mean, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
So when did you?
It's funny. I got an award. I got a big award. I got back then there was cheesy envelopes. Those were like the envelopes.
Manila, like a manila envelope?
Yeah, that you do from one department to another. Mm-hmm. So my award came in a cheesy envelope. They dropped it off on my desk. I opened it up. I got this certificate and this, check, bonus check for it.
You deserve it, bro. You deserve it.
So no fanfare, which is, I was okay with it.
Yeah, I think
that's
in that moment,
that's actually the answer I expected to all of your questions. Yeah, that's how it is, man. And like in those like top tier communities, like I was never like SF or anything like that, but I was in the 82nd Airborne for 8 years, and so like we worked like hand in hand. We were always like the outer cordon for those type of people and those type of groups, and it was like it's exactly like you said. If you did your job, if anything, you got grief for doing a good job to just like always keep you like even keel. Yeah. It was never.
I mean, that's the expectation.
Right. Yeah. It's like you did your
excellence
job.
Is the expectation. So if you do an excellent job, they're like, well,
that's normal.
That's normal. That's what you're saying.
How long were you with the FBI after that till you came to Miami?
So after that, I of course got.
I'm pointing that way, like Miami's that way. We're like in Miami.
Exactly. Yeah. So that was still very early in my career. I hadn't become a supervisor yet, so I became a supervisor of the Joint Terrorism Task Force in Washington, D.C., and then I became the assistant special agent in charge over counterterrorism for Washington, D.C., and then, several other. So I didn't come here until 2014, and this was my dream job. I always wanted to come.
Did you choose it, or was it an opening?
I chose, and it was extremely competitive. You compete for a position like this.
Okay.
It's like Hawaii.
And
I think it's a lot better than Hawaii.
Yeah. No, I'm just saying, like, that's like the ones that there's always like a wish list.
Yeah.
Everybody's always like Hawaii, like that coast. The Coast Guard when you're going over A1A.
Okay, I guess
that Coast Guard that's right on the bridge
I
before
don't know.
you get to Alton Road, going to South Beach.
I don't know down here.
So, anyways, that's
I'm not
that's like
familiar.
one of the most like people will do 2 years in Alaska
to get there.
Yeah.
Wow. Like they'll do a hardship tour.
It is one of the most desirable Coast Guard.
And when you get there, you don't leave.
So let's change gears. We joked a little bit maybe about this when you first came in. In our community, obviously, like there's the surf culture, the surf culture, and there's a lot of marijuana and other other things that people put in their body around it. It was that as an agent, as a special agent in the FBI, was that ever a concern? Like when you were going to a gym, like somebody will walk in and I'm rolling with somebody and be like, "Oh Jesus Christ, what did you do in the car? Like what the hell?" Did that have to become a consideration for you, or the people that you're going to be around? With marijuana specifically being such a big part of the jiu-jitsu community, was that ever a concern for you? Like, I'm in the FBI, you guys can't be doing that around me, or I don't want to smell that, or was it just like?
Thankfully for me, I didn't see that around me, right? So, fortunately, at my gym, we do have a number of law enforcement officers, but we have the majority are not, but they are very mindful and very respectful of those of us in law enforcement, right? So I never saw it around, but there'd be a couple of times I'd roll. I'm like, oh, I smell that weed,
It is, bro. Yeah. You need a better cologne.
You ever seen the meme like of the two arms like that are like this, and it says like police officers, jiu-jitsu guys, and it like pot. It's like it. Yeah.
Was it High Rollers had the stoners versus police, like stoners versus cops event,
So I
mean, even they recognize
how
prevalent.
I never really thought about it. I never really worried about it. It was never visible or anything like that. And I really, when I'm at the gym, I'm focused, on my training. But of course, when I was in the FBI, still to this point, in the FBI, you can't use any products with CBD in them, even makeup or anything like that. So. Very, very, mindful of that.
Even though most CBDs that we know don't have any THC,
99.9.
you can't even use. Yeah. Wow.
No pot.
You guys got the good test over there, right? To pick up everything.
They just look at your eyeballs. They can tell you're
It's funny because our sponsor, Neutral Zone, he's always taking tests. Like he'll record himself taking the test, and then he puts it on Instagram to like, hey, God, there's no THC, but you can't. When you're on the job, you can't take that risk.
Not at all.
Not worth it, I guess, at that point. Okay, I can forego the CBD.
I'll allow that for the people that are protecting my freedom.
Yeah.
I got to tell you, though, it's funny. In the last decade, really, when it comes to sports, they found that there's a tremendous benefit.
Oh, yeah.
For relaxing, for blood flow, for brain activity, for awareness. Literally heightening these things instead of reducing them.
Our studio guest is going really.
Maybe.
Tell me more, buddy.
Maybe FBI 2050. I'll start considering that.
We're gonna do a little. We do what we call a little speed round. We've renamed it the drill down. Wait, we're not going there yet. We named it the drill down, so we're going to get to that.
Can I do?
But I heard you talk about like maybe writing a book. Is that something that you're still thinking about?
No. I'm actually I'm doing it now. So I'm writing a book, and I'm working with Simon & Schuster, a publishing company out of New York.
Heard of them?
Yes. So I'm very fortunate. So they're interested in publishing my book, and I'm hoping to have it done by the end of the year. And best case scenario is have it released next year. for the 20-year anniversary of the Iraq War.
Nice.
Oh, cool.
I'll keep my FBI out for it.
Well, we definitely love to have you back before that, or when the book comes out. We'll have you
Absolutely.
come on. And
Oh, for
talk.
sure. We should totally hold it up.
Are you
Oh, wait,
doing the
these
drill
guys have
down?
questions. I'm sorry. I don't
Are you
mean
going to do the drill down?
Not yet. Go ahead. Did you have a question?
No, because I want to do the intro to the drill.
Okay, no. But did you have a question, Miguel?
Absolutely not.
No, we're good.
No questions.
What, you have an intro to the drill down? Do I want to?
Yeah.
Okay, let me have it.
The drill down.
Oh wait, you know what? I forgot our listener questions, so you have to do it again.
Yes, was not.
So okay, so we got a few listener questions. You have time. We're an hour and a half in. Are you good? It's 9:15. We're okay.
Anyone
No
has,
rush?
if anyone has
No
to
rush.
pee,
Are you okay over there? We're good. We're good. Okay.
Probably the toughest thing you've done, right?
Let me see. Sometimes we wind up talking about. Obviously, we talk about some of these things during the podcast. I did have somebody. Okay, so I definitely wanted to read Sarah Kyle's comment. Do you know who Sarah Kyle is?
Absolutely.
Okay, Sarah. So she said, I used a photo, I guess, that she took. She said, "Could I have a T-shirt?" So yes, Sarah. But you got it. Do you know her?
Of course.
Okay. Don't let her. She's got to watch the episode.
Okay.
And she's got to message me. If I'm going to give something away, I make sure they watch the episode.
Sarah is a professional photographer,
Okay.
and has taken several of the photos, and not only that, she designed my logo that's trademarked that you were mentioning earlier. So she's the one that designed this
That's cool.
logo.
It's
Very
almost
cool.
like the Stratton Oakmont lion.
I know Stratton. You know Stratton Oakmont?
No.
No.
You ever watch Wolf of Wall Street? No, this guy has no time. Forget I said anything. I like it.
Okay, let me see. We had 4 questions that I chose. We had a bunch. I had a lot of them direct message to me. We did talk about like PJJ for law enforcement.
So her question was, "Can I have a T-shirt?"
Yeah. Well, I wanted to mention. I used her picture
T-shirt,
promo.
T-shirt for the boldness of the question.
So, okay, so we also had. Okay, we talked a lot about these, so I'm not going to read some of these, but let me see. Shexter, somebody out of DC. Somebody they think they knew you. Said, "When are you coming back to DC?"
I don't know when I'll be back in DC, but when I'm back there, I train at Pentagon MMA, which is a phenomenal
Does
gym.
that guy look familiar? Can you see it?
Yeah, we actually.
You know him? Okay.
Yeah, I do know him. So
He doesn't have his name on his profile.
At Pentagon MMA, so I always try to go there and train. They've got some great guys there.
Okay.
And Vivek, the owner of Pentagon MMA, who's a phenomenal Muay Thai fighter. So a shout out to him.
So I just came back from DC. I went to see my oldest daughter, and I never bring my gi with me. My wife's not letting me get away with that. It's like family vacation. Really? You
I'm still
can't
working
not
on
do
it.
jiu-jitsu one day? Like that's, I never bring it with me. So
When you become a professional athlete, you can use that as an excuse to say,
George,
Honey,
my-
or
it's
even
my
like, honey, this
career.
is marketing. I'm getting my name out there.
Exactly.
You know?
All right, so
you need.
we've already kind of discussed some of the other listener questions that we chose. So okay, go ahead, Bo. Give me the drill down again.
You need a bus station locker with a gi in it in every town you're going to go.
I wish.
All right, ready?
I really have never taken my gi traveling with me, unless it's like been driving. In
I
Florida or
thought
something.
about it this time.
It's a no.
Okay, ready?
Sure.
The drill down.
There you go. I got my guys creating a logo.
Okay,
We're
well, I'll
gonna
just
add
take
to
that
the-
snippet. And
Okay, so we do like we used to call it a speed round, but we stopped calling it a speed round because it was never fast. It was like we wound up elaborating and spending a lot more time talking about
the longest part of the show.
Yeah, right, the longest part of the whole show. So okay, so I'll run down these. You can elaborate. We're in no rush. So gi or no gi? What's your preference?
Gi.
Gi. Do you I saw you in some no gi shorts the other day, but you're
With
No, I train both,
yeah.
but my preference is gi.
do you
Okay.
wear the knee braces below the gi?
Of course.
I saw them.
Any major injuries besides the pectoral muscle?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
So 2 torn left meniscus. I'm being told don't say all the injuries.
As you go into competition?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, he's a purple belt. He doesn't have to worry about leg
We've
locks.
all
Next
got
year.
them. Blue out my MCL, ACL. This arm, I don't know what's going on, but
Yeah,
this
but
just hurts
all
down
his
the whole arm.
all his injuries
Full
are
muscle.
service connected.
That's right.
Takedown or pull guard?
Pull guard.
Yeah.
Those are my knees.
No.
We won't go too
Service
much into the
connected.
competition side and game plan, but when you're training in the gym, pull guard, and then what's your go-to? Like I'm pull guard. I'm looking for the lockdown. Love the lockdown.
So I like to, of course, pull guard, and I have an attack series for several chokes right from guard, and then if not,
You're not
then
screwing around. You're getting them
I'm
down.
not.
down.
And if not, the arm bar is coming.
Okay.
Are you
All
talking?
right, good.
Are you talking shit in competition? Like while you're rolling?
No, I don't.
Whispers in
Are
the
you-
ear. Whispers in the
I love to talk
kill you.
when I'm doing jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, he does.
I chose a good profession. I do sales all day, and then I talk about
shit.
jiu-jitsu.
Would you like
I love to
buy
talk
an
to
ad?
during while I'm rolling with any. Do you talk at all? Like even in rolling, forget about the competition side. But when you're just rolling with the guys, are you like screwing around? Or you make like I like to joke around and
I probably say
whisper
right
something in somebody's ear. No, that's
No.
not you.
No, and again, because most of the time I'm focused on getting ready or training for a competition. So I look at training camp or fight camp as very, very serious. And most of the time I'm fighting with guys that are truly crushing me. So I have getting words out is very hard.
That's
The only
how-
conversation is
That's the best time to tell when you're getting beat.
Oh, that hurts.
all right. So music during rolling, yes or no?
Oh, definitely.
What's your go-to?
It's
If you controlling the
guess?
music that night at
Can
the
I
gym.
guess? I just want to guess. Pearl Jam.
Bob Marley,
No.
reggae, no?
90s R&B.
Yes. Yeah. One, little 112,
wow.
little jagged edge.
Keith
Yeah,
Sweat.
really? That's you? That's awesome.
I'm not
Gonna
Keith Sweat
groove
while I'm
tonight.
rolling. That's a little weird.
I'm so into me and my wife. She's 10 years younger than me, but we're both so into 90s R&B.
Yeah.
We went up to a couple of years ago. I have a client that got us tickets. He is the official bus company for the Nets in the Barclays Center. So it was a Brian McKnight concert, but it was all like everybody walked out at the end when he came on. But it was all like the 90s R&B people. So it was like
shouldn't
112,
have
Jagged
walked
Edge.
out
One of the
on,
guys was in jail. We
Brian.
didn't walk. She was there she wanted to see Brian McKnight.
He was incredible.
Yeah.
We've seen
Yo,
Brian
you see-
McKnight
yeah.
in concert. He's
I saw him in
unbelievable.
Boca in a little club. We went, and then we went to see him in New York. So I'm all about. But in New York, most people were there to see like more like the hip hop R&B groups. But I
I even
Jagged
go
Edge.
a little further back, like
Yeah.
Stevie B. I love Stevie.
Oh,
B.
but that's not 90s R&B. That's a little
80s,
bit more. That's
80s,
what we
yeah.
call that. That's more freestyle.
freestyle. Oh, absolutely.
My wife gave me tickets for my birthday to a freestyle concert over where they do the Hialeah in Hollywood, and they canceled it.
Oh,
So I didn't get to go. But we've been to other freestyle concerts. I'm 49. I'm up there. I'm
Damn.
the same age.
Are you guys gonna compare AARP cards? after this?
Not yet. I'm still.
Oh,
I'm still a few
man.
years away. I am getting that mail. Every time they send me mail, I'm like, son of a bitch.
You know what? You know when it hit me hard was when I saw that Dr. Dre was on the cover of AARP.
No,
Oh,
really?
no. Dude.
I was like, I'm next.
That's my little Dre on the way to. I have a short ride to the gym, so it's like I'm usually gonna get one song. I'm like literally just like 3 minutes away from the gym. It's got to be one song. It's got to be one good song. My go-to is like anything Dre. Anything Dre. I love Eminem too.
I
He
get
went,
that.
from, he
Eminem.
went from rapper to
Like
crapper.
anything from the movie soundtrack from 8 Mile.
He went from
Little
rapper
rapid
to
run on the way
billionaire.
to the gym,
I'll
and
show
I'm
my
so
age.
fucking
When
When I
motivated.
really want to get pumped up, it's the Rocky 4 soundtrack.
Oh yeah.
with against Drago.
Yeah.
If
That's a good
he
one.
dies, he dies.
Before, are you?
I
Like,
will break you.
I think actually one of the images that we posted was
Yeah.
right. Are you like in the
Absolutely.
zone with
Yeah.
music? Yeah. So you like this or you like this, but meanwhile it's
No,
Stevie
no,
B
no.
like
No,
Spring
no.
Love. No.
No.
Sorry
So
everybody for singing
it's actually,
that.
it's funny. So I have my training playlist, and
Yeah.
then I have my pre-competition playlist.
Yeah.
So it is some of the Rocky 4 songs, Eminem, and,
Yeah.
some more to get me that kind of that.
His
Yeah.
best hits from
Yeah,
his Saddam
Eminem's-
Interrogation.
Eminem's Illuminati album.
All right. So we talked about the being a UFC fan. Do you watch a lot of MMA? And well, let's.
Are you a
because
are you a
these are two
consumer?
different things. Do you watch a lot of MMA? Are you watching like every UFC?
I watch every UFC.
My man.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's me, bro.
Again, it's hard.
Yeah, we literally
There's so
wa-
much. There's
Yeah.
so much now. It's
We
just
don't
like
miss
it's
a
a job.
single
to-
one. We watch
Yeah.
Me too.
every.
Yeah. Nice.
You're awesome.
Yeah.
Yo, I'm
Good
security
security
serious.
detail. I
So-
like.
And we actually go.
Yeah.
to
Okay.
events. That's the other cool thing about being an American top team. I get invited to.
Oh God, yeah.
So
and all like the smaller, the local events too, the smaller ones.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah,
But we've been to Las Vegas, L.A., New York, the Apex.
Yeah.
It's incredible to watch fights at the Apex.
The Brian McKnight concert I told you about that week. He got me my client got me tickets to there was a UFC event. It was I gotta remember her name. Who's Valentina Shevchenko? I forgot who she was. Yeah, that was the gun, right? She has the she has the
she's got everything.
I forget who she was fighting. She was fighting a new Jermaine Jermaine. I don't know how to say her name.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, like
they were fighting, right?
world champion
That was that
kickboxer.
fight. I think we saw that week. We went to like I think 2 Nets games, and we went to the R&B concert.
Wow.
So that whole week that was it. She just sent me an email the other day. She got I guess she there's something going on in like Coral Springs at like there's I think it's an
LFA.
LFA. There's an event. I think it was an LFA event coming up. Something like, yes, please. Don't send it to me. Just buy the tickets. What are you doing? So I like my our first Valentine's Day together. She got me a Groupon, and we watched It was the first time I saw Wagner Rocha fight when he was still doing MMA at a smaller event at the War Memorial
In Fort Lauderdale.
Yeah. That was my first. I think that was my first
You still have
MMA
the
fight
poster, right?
in Florida. I still have the post. Like he did as part of the Groupon. Like there were signed posters from him and his opponent.
Oh, wow.
I still have them.
Yeah.
So I think did I bring it? We had him on, but I told him I was telling him I was like I just
Yeah.
dug this out, man. I still had I had that photo. And I sent him a picture of it. He didn't even. He's like, "Oh my god, I don't remember that. It's so crazy."
I wasn't here for that one, but I listened to it and you said that.
So how about jiu-jitsu though? Are you watching the WNOs? Are you watching the Fight to Wins? Are you
Of
as
course.
dedicated a fan?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So of course, I have Flow Grappling and don't miss any of those events.
Would you ever fight, or have you ever done a like
who's
a fight to win?
no?
Fight to win is probably more likely
not yet.
for
Yeah.
Not yet. I love
something. So you would accept. I think it's a little bit more like you got to put in your application and then
Yeah.
they'll consider you, kind of, right?
Exactly.
Would you? Have you ever?
No, but I haven't yet.
Yeah.
But that's definitely
like the
something.
yet.
Yeah.
Not
So for me, I really want to I'm really focused on IBJJF, and I want to win worlds. So that's kind of where I'm putting all of my focus and attention. And once I accomplish that goal, the next would be something like Fight to Win and
Like super
others.
fights.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. So, but first, right now, I want to see how far and how good I can get within the IBJJF structure.
Yeah.
And hopefully, as my sponsors, the number of sponsors grow, then I'm able to, expand into Fight to Win and, different things and super fights and, things like that.
You know what's going to be really dope? When you're a black belt and your age, you're going to have some like serious black, because they're always going to be black belts. They're not even going to be core belts or there's like some seriously well-known black belts that are your age, and you're going to be a black belt and you're going to step on the mats with those people.
We
Like
talk
they're going to
about
be in
that
your
a lot.
bracket.
He's like, yeah,
That's
maybe
like
fighting those guys.
That's
one
my
day.
secret dream, because like right now, all the who's are my age right now, or
And
they're
high
in my
level and-
Not a
super
secret
high
anymore.
level.
Yeah.
So like, dude, when I'm like 48, I'm gonna get destroyed. It's gonna be
By
so
some
good.
of the biggest names.
I'm not bringing my
in
kids.
jiu-jitsu.
I'm not bringing my kids, bro.
Yeah, when I get my black belt, I'll be competing against guys that have been black belt for 30 years, and I'll have been black belt for 6 months
Lots
or
of
a year.
stripes.
Yeah, but that's right up your alley. That's what you like.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Renato Laranja stripes,
Yeah.
right? Stripes down both
Yeah.
sides, right?
You know it, right? How do you eat an elephant?
Favorite competitor? Yeah, MMA and jiu-jitsu. Favorite? Let's start with MMA.
MMA is tough for me to
Besides
say.
Wilson.
Well, no, because I have so many friends at American
Okay.
Top Team. So if I name one, the others are going to be really mad, and then they're going to stop training with me.
Favorite non-ATT MMA.
There you go. There you go.
Lyoto Machida.
Okay.
Dude, he's
All right.
cool. The dragon.
Is it because of the karate
Yeah.
at the background? Okay. All right.
And I also
Respect.
like his approach, right? He's a true martial artist.
He's always carried himself really well
Exactly.
in and out of the ring, and it's
Absolutely. He
not
carries
the
himself
norm these days.
in
Still a
such
stud,
a
by the way.
Oh, absolutely. So it's him and like, GSP. And again, I love the way GSP carried himself both in and outside of, the octagon, and really, truly kind of adopted that martial artist approach. So those non-ATT, those are my two.
GSP, I feel like he looks better now. That dude's going back in time somehow.
Yeah, he's like one of those guys that.
Well, he's doing like
doesn't
gymnastics
age.
now, and
Yeah.
I mean,
it was part of his training. It was gymnastics was part of his training.
Yeah,
While he had the belt.
literal
So it was a
garbage
thing.
man.
Yeah. Do you have a let's say same thing outside of ATT favorite jiu-jitsu competitor to watch?
Of course, for me, my favorite, again, putting Wilson Govea aside and, the teammates.
That's
but,
an obvious.
Yeah.
Right?
They're going to choke the hell out of you
In
tomorrow.
fairness, just jiu-jitsu white, of course, Bushesha, who is now at American Top Team, is still, for me, one of my favorite.
2-0, right?
3-0.
3-0 now, right?
Yeah. So the one style, though, that I like to emulate the most is Hajar Gracie.
Okay.
Oh, you love pulling guard. His guard, dude, you're in that dude's guard.
Do you feel it, along with the old school style, kind of like, that he's mastered the basics?
Oh, yeah.
Like that, right?
Yeah.
To this day, right? When you see him train or compete, right? It's been, not to this day, but, when we've seen him compete, right? It's, it's like he's still doing arm bars and triangles and, right? Those things that we kind of are learning at white and blue.
Yeah, exactly. So, but of course, as you were talking about, I like and watch Wagner Rocha. I really like him. Cyborg. There's a lot of great, especially here in South Florida. So, that's the nice thing about jiu-jitsu. There's so many different personalities and styles, and that's appealing.
Yeah. Okay.
What do you think about combat jiu-jitsu?
Combat jiu-jitsu?
From my perspective, honestly, it's either do jiu-jitsu or do MMA.
Yeah.
It's there's if you're going to do jiu-jitsu, there's so much that that should be devoted to the techniques, the skill, the conditions, all of those. If you want to strike, do MMA.
Yeah.
It's
not something that I've
here.
taken to. I haven't spoken about it favorably.
It's fun.
I haven't said good things about it. But we've had like Brandon McCaffrey on the show he commentates for Eddie Bravo's for
EBI.
Is it? It's combat jiu-jitsu.
It's combat jiu-jitsu now.
So he commentates. So like made me think a little bit differently or look at it a little differently. But I'm of the same mindset of if you're gonna smack slap, then do MMA. What's I don't get this. It feels and looks weird to me. It's just like
I think it's a fun training exercise.
I do get like a little bit of the homage to back to the Gracie. The Gracie
From a
style
self-defense perspective, there's definitely some value in application, right?
Yeah.
But for the essence of what jiu-jitsu is supposed to do, and the value of it, it does take away from it. So
that's
again,
well put.
if you want to strike, do MMA. If you really want to focus on the essence of jiu-jitsu and then mastering it, work on jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
That's kind of my philosophy.
What was I trying to say? The Gracie, when they used to do
the judo storming?
Yeah, the gym storming, and when they used to have they used to have the people come in and like the Gracie challenge is the word what I'm looking for. The Gracie challenges, a lot of times they would purposely not hit they would do the slapping over punching when they were in an advantageous position. They had somebody's back, they're trying to loosen them up. It was never punches, it was always the slaps. So I see a bit of that homage to that, but again, it's not some. There was a reason that they were doing
that
it.
Are coming in to challenge and prove that jiu-jitsu is not very effective, and
who are street fighters and other disciplines. So I get that. Yeah, so
I love that UFC fighters are like calling in people like those Instagram keyboard warriors, and they're like, "All right, come to the gym." They're like, "Well, I can't," and it's like, "I'll fly you out and I'll pay you for your full week of work."
Okay,
No, you can't.
You got the last two questions.
I got the last two.
Neutral Zone is combat family owned, so they know you need to keep yourself and your equipment clean. They created Neutral Zone Clean wipes and sprays for just that purpose. Neutral Zone products are formulated to reduce the risk of bacterial and fungal infections. Whatever's making you sweat, weight training, rolling on the mats, yard work, or just working around the house, Neutral Zone Clean wipes and sprays can make you feel and smell refreshed. Use code JJD to get 15% off your online order at neutralzoneclean.com. While you're there, sign up for their newsletter to receive the latest info and updates on product launches like their new shower gel and soap bar coming soon. Are you Neutral Zone Clean? Jiu-Jitsu's favorite monthly subscription box has now joined the Jiu Jitsu Dummies Podcast. The BJJ box is delivered to your door filled with premium jiu-jitsu and grappling apparel, equipment, supplements, supplies, snacks, and more. The crew at the BJJ box find the best in the world of jiu-jitsu and guarantee every box to be worth more than the cost. Each box includes 4 to 7 items you're going to love. Visit thebjjbox.com and use code JJD10 to get $10 off your very first box. And give them a follow on Instagram at thebjjbox. Special thank you to the crew over at Flow and Roll for all their support. Flow and Roll is renowned for their incredible no-gi rash guards, shorts, and leggings. Flow and Roll has quickly become the premier custom apparel provider for academies big and small throughout the United States. Reach out today to discuss your custom order and ask about their incredible pre-order program. You can send an email to flowandroll@gmail.com or visit their Instagram at flow_n_roll and shoot them a direct message. And yes, they can create an awesome custom gi for your academy as well. Visit flowandroll.com to check out their awesome designs, and while you're there, pick up a Jiu Jitsu Dummies signature tee exclusively at flowandroll.com. And remember, you'll get 20% off your purchase of t-shirts, rash guards, or gis with code JJD.
The first question, do you or do you not wash your jiu-jitsu belt?
I do wash my jiu-jitsu belt.
Where's the
Very
ding,
good.
ding, 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 ding? And I added this question just for you. Favorite interrogation technique?
Favorite interrogation technique? My mom's cookies.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Wow.
So, and I say that because I actually used my mom's cookies during the interrogation of Saddam Hussein.
Oh, yeah.
I gave him my mom's cookies.
Are we
for
allowed
his
to know what the
birthday.
cookie type is?
It's Lebanese sugar cookies.
Okay.
They're incredible.
All right,
so
I'll
she
talk.
made them and shipped them from
They're like-
California to
will
me
talk.
in Iraq, and I gave it to him on his birthday, and he was really taken by that gesture. So it was extremely effective. So my favorite interrogation
Lemon
technique.
zest.
So I'm from
not what we expected.
I'm from southern Romania, right? So we have a lot of influences from all the countries around us, including Turkey, right? And some from the Middle East. So I totally understand that. I would talk like that. Just give me some milk, a little milk.
Bodies buried on Fifth
Yep.
Street.
Yep, I did it. They're over there. I
You
use
ever been
this.
to Dearborn, Michigan?
Yes.
Dude, the food there is
Oh, yes.
ridiculous.
So, last thing, sponsors that you want to shout out? Anybody that you want to say hello to? Thank. This is your time.
No, absolutely. Of course, my first sponsor that has been incredible and has really helped me reach this point is Gurkha Cigars.
Okay.
Gurkha.
Yes.
I love Gurkhas.
Yeah,
Interesting.
they're the best cigars in the world. So of course, goes to Gurkha Cigars. But recently I got signed on by Alma Medical Group here in Miami.
Okay.
They've been incredible, and then Warren Henry Auto Group are my.
I got buddies who work
Okay.
with Warren Henry.
Yeah. So those are my sponsors, but there's always room for more.
Yeah, I say the
Bring
same
it.
thing. So anyone out there,
Super
I told you, hopefully, we'll make some intros and you guys take it from there. I don't get involved with like, hey, sponsor.
Yeah.
Hey, I think that maybe there's
That's
a good
perfect.
fit here,
Yeah.
and maybe
Awesome.
something happen. I'll let you.
The boomerang
So,
approach.
Awesome.
Thank you very much for joining us, Joy.
Thank you very
Appreciate
much.
it.
Awesome.
Thank you so much. It was we're a couple hours in. I'm just going to do a little housekeeping here, say goodbye, keep it short and sweet, but really appreciate you coming on. Come back whenever you want. Yeah, I know we have a couple of like local law enforcement guys that wanted to do a little bit of a roundtable. If you're open to an
Absolutely.
invite,
I'm
we can do
open
one.
to anything, and
Yeah.
hopefully I'll be back after I win Vegas, and we can talk about
So
that.
Yeah,
come
I'll
back
train-
for
I'll
a law
train with you
enforcement.
then. I want to train with you, man.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just,
After that, when you're
okay.
out of competition mode.
Come back for when you win. When your book comes out, and we'll let
Definitely
you know
when
if we
the
do the
book comes
roundtable, the law enforcement roundtable. So
sure.
thank you again. Appreciate it. Thank you for being so patient. So one thing I didn't mention at the beginning of the episode is everybody don't forget, if you purchase anything from any of our sponsors, send us a copy of your receipt. We're going to do a $250 giveaway of podcast swag, gear, t-shirts, probably a gi from Flow and Roll.
Is the rash guard out
We're going
yet?
to get some Neutral Zone in there, but you're going to get at least, it's probably going to go up from there because other sponsors have said they want to do something. Maybe we'll talk to BJJ Box as well, but we're going to do at least $250 worth of jiu-jitsu swag. We're going to give it away just for supporting our sponsors, right? They're going to go into a little raffle. We'll pick a winner. So I didn't get to mention that at the beginning of the episode like we normally do, but check out Jiu Jitsu Dummies for all the ways to watch, listen, and support. So you can go to jiujitsudummies.com. You can go to @Jiu-Jitsu Dummies on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, everywhere.
YouTube.
And it's Jiu-Jitsu Dummies Podcast on TikTok. So you want to hit them with your IG?
Oh, yeah. It's JJD_DJJ69.
George, your...
George Piro _ATT.
Okay.
Awesome.
Bo?
At BADWERKS. Bad
All right.
works.
Would you like to give out your Instagram? I'm just kidding. I'm at Uncle Milty BJJ on Instagram. That's it, everybody. Thank you for watching and listening.
Thank you so much.
Again, appreciate you coming on.
Thank you.
And we like to say, peace, love, jiu-jitsu, baby.